Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Oldham County Fiscal Court. I'm David Vogel, Judge Executive. It's 2 o'clock here on the 20th day of June. Before we begin today's meeting, I'm going to swear in a new member of the Fiscal Court for the 3rd District in Oldham County. That is Kevin Mosley. If Kevin will meet me at the podium in front of the court, we'll have a swearing-in ceremony. This, and we'll see what maybe you said. Kevin, please raise your right hand. Kevin, you solemnly swear to support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of this Commonwealth, to be faithful and true to the Commonwealth of Kentucky, so long as you remain a citizen thereof, and that you will faithfully execute to the best of your ability the office of 3rd District Magistrate according to law. And you further solemnly swear that since the adoption of the present Constitution, you being a citizen of the state have not fought a duel with deadly weapons within this state or out of it, or have you accepted a challenge to fight a duel with deadly weapons, or aided or assisted anybody thus offending, so help you God. Congratulations. All right, Denise, will you please call the roll? Excuse me. We have our Pledge of Allegiance here.
Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. One nation, under God, indivisible.
Now we'll have Denise Clark, please call the roll.
Magistrate Likens, Magistrate Tice, Magistrate Woosley, Magistrate Greenwell, Magistrate Hounds,
Here.
Magistrate Hawkins, Magistrate Dye, Magistrate Logston, Judge Vogel.
Having all members of the Fiscal Court present, this meeting is now in session. Is there a motion to accept the agenda?
Second.
Is there any changes or additions? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. And now I'll ask Denise to please read the minutes. So welcome Kevin again here for welcome to the Fiscal Court. And I'll have an announcement about the committees Kevin's on after we finish with the minutes from our last meeting.
The Oldham County Fiscal Court convened at a special meeting at 2 p.m. with Judge Executive David Vogel, Assistant County Attorney Matt Hudson, and the following magistrates in attendance: Brent Likens, Wayne Tice, Steve Greenwell, Chris Hounds, Stephanie Hawkins, Bob Dye, and Michael Logston. Motion made by Magistrate Dye and seconded by Magistrate Hounds to approve the agenda as submitted. Motion carried unanimously. Motion made by Magistrate Hounds and seconded by Magistrate Likens to approve meeting minutes from June 15th, 2021 as submitted. Motion carried unanimously. Motion made by Magistrate Dye and seconded by Magistrate Hounds to approve the meeting minutes from June 21st, 2021 as submitted. Motion carried unanimously. During public comment, Planning and Development Services Director Jim Urban announced there would be a special public meeting to discuss solar panels and solar fields on July 29th, 2021 at 5 p.m. in the Fiscal Courtroom. Parks and Recreation Director Gary Parsons made the following announcements. The new playground at Briar Hill Park was installed, and the pool would be open on Independence Day. Oldham County Health Department Director Matt Rhodes provided an update on COVID-19 and the COVID-19 vaccine campaign in Oldham County. Eunice Ray, wife of Colonel Ronald D. Ray, and John Stewart, architect with Uncompass, Develop, Design, and Construct, presented the information regarding plans for the Library of American History at LaGrange at 110 East Madison Street. A fundraising effort is underway with a goal to reach at least $4.5 million. Kevin Burns with Architectural Investments presented information regarding the new animal control building. Discussion followed. Magistrate Greenwell called for the question. A roll call vote was taken to end debate. Motion carried unanimously. A motion was made by Magistrate Likens and seconded by Magistrate Logston to proceed with the animal control building construction project with Architectural Investments, to finish drawings, to hire a construction manager, and to go forward receiving bids in order to come up with a bid amount for the project. Motion carried 5-3 on a roll call vote, with the following magistrates voting no: Wayne Tice, Steve Greenwell, and Stephanie Hawkins. Motion made by Magistrate Hounds and seconded by Magistrate Greenwell to take a short recess beginning at 4:12 p.m. Motion carried unanimously. There was a motion and a second to resume the meeting at 4:28 p.m. Motion carried unanimously. The following sealed bids were opened and read aloud for the following vehicles: engineering pickup truck, Champion Chevrolet 2021, Chevrolet Colorado 4-wheel drive extended cab, $24,992. Champion Chevrolet 2022, Chevrolet Silverado 1500 4-wheel drive double, $29,828. Parks 1-ton diesel pickup truck, Champion Chevrolet 2022, Chevrolet Silverado 3500 HD, $43,887. Coroner SUV John Jones Auto Group Durango Pursuit 8 all-wheel drive, $36,467. Champion Chevrolet 2022 Chevrolet Traverse 4-wheel drive 4-door LS, $27,214. The bids were provided to Deputy Judge Executive Kevin Nuss for review and recommendation. Motion made by Magistrate Hounds and seconded by Magistrate Likens to authorize payment of the first set of payables to be paid on or before June 29, 2021, as submitted. Motion carried unanimously. Motion made by Magistrate Hounds and seconded by Magistrate Greenwell to authorize payment of the second set of payables to be paid after July 1st, 2021, as submitted. Motion carried unanimously. Motion made by Magistrate Dye and seconded by Magistrate Hounds to approve line item budget transfers in the amount of $34,309.50 as submitted. Motion carried unanimously. Motion made by Magistrate Dye and seconded by Magistrate Hounds to approve to surplus the JABS courtroom camera system to scrap in order to remove it from the books. Discussion followed. Motion carried unanimously. Motion made by Magistrate Likens and seconded by Magistrate Hawkins to authorize Judge Vogel to sign the Memorandum of Understanding between Kentucky Transportation Cabinet and Oldham County Fiscal Court and a coordinating resolution authorizing $25,970 in federal SLO funds for the design phase of the Buckner Connector project, requiring a local match of $5,194 as submitted. Motion carried unanimously. Motion made by Magistrate Dye and seconded by Magistrate Tice to authorize Judge Vogel to sign Amendment Number 1 of the East Peak Road construction contract with MAC Construction as submitted. Motion carried unanimously. Motion made by Magistrate Likens and seconded by Magistrate Hounds to authorize Judge Vogel to sign Amendment Number 1, Goshen Hills Phase 2 and Lakeview Estates Drainage Improvement Design Contract with BTM Engineering, Inc. Discussion followed. Motion carried unanimously. Motion made by Magistrate Tice and seconded by Magistrate Dye to authorize Judge Vogel to sign the Memorandum of Understanding for the One Kentucky Opioid Settlement as submitted. Motion carried unanimously. Motion made by Magistrate Dye and seconded by Magistrate Hounds to approve the Detention Center Policy and Procedure 2021 presented to Fiscal Court as submitted. Discussion followed. Motion carried unanimously. Motion made by Magistrate Greenwell and seconded by Magistrate Hawkins to hire Shane Davis as laborer at Parks and Recreation at $15 an hour effective 7/6/2021 and to hire seasonal pool employees effective 6/30/2021 as submitted. Motion carried unanimously. Judge Vogel announced the following resignations: Patrick Martin from Road Department effective 6/28/2021 and Jeff Rice from Maintenance effective 7/2/2021. Motion made by Magistrate Greenwell and seconded by Magistrate Hounds to reappoint Danny Adams to the Ballardsville Fire Protection District Board with a term to expire 6/30/2024 as submitted. Motion carried unanimously. Motion made by Magistrate Likens and seconded by Magistrate Tice to appoint Joe Ender to the Westport Fire Protection District Board with a term to expire 6/30/2024 as submitted. Motion carried 7-1 with Magistrate Hawkins voting no. Motion made by Magistrate Tice and seconded by Magistrate Hawkins to reappoint Bob Dye to the Oldham LaGrange Development Authority with a term to expire 7/16/2025 as submitted. Motion carried 7-0 to 1 with Magistrate Dye abstaining. Motion made by Magistrate Hawkins and seconded by Magistrate Hounds to adjourn the meeting. Motion carried unanimously. The meeting adjourned at 5:19 p.m.
The reading of our minutes from June 29th. Are there any suggested corrections or changes? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion
Thank
carried.
you, Judge.
Abstention, correct. Thank you. I did mention that I would announce the committee assignments for Magistrate Woosley, and they are utilities, human resources, and roads. We also have two other changes in relation to this. Magistrate Tice is going to become part of the Public Safety Committee, and Magistrate Hawkins will be on the Economic Development Committee. Have those changes, and we welcome you here today. Thank you. The next item on our agenda today is a public comment. Is there anyone here who would like to address the fiscal court?
I'm not quite that tall. Is that better?
I think it's fine. It won't bite you.
Well, you're right. Before I get to the tax sale, I wanted to mention what our office went through last week and part of the previous week. As we all know, the state system was converted over the long holiday weekend, and it didn't go so well across the state. So county clerk's offices really were left dead in the water. And the reason I bring this up is I want to thank Jerry Nart for helping me get the word out to the citizens of the county, because putting it on Facebook or putting a sign at the door just really doesn't get the word out effectively. And I was on vacation last week, and I can tell you 5:30 in the morning in Cabo getting phone calls, the computers are still down, and getting messages to Jerry made it go a lot smoother. So I really am appreciative to him. So the reason I'm here, it is part of my duty as county clerk to hold a tax sale every year. And that is for all unpaid delinquent tax bills in the county. And I always come right before the tax sale to remind citizens that if you are delinquent, you still have time. You can pay right up until 9 o'clock before the tax sale. If you want to pay in my office, you absolutely can. The only method of payment in my office is credit card, cash, wire transfer, or certified funds. No personal checks. If that is not a good option, you can still call the county attorney's office and set up a payment plan. And they work just very well with the citizens getting that set up so your tax bills are not sold. Mary handles that in the county attorney's office, and you can call them at 222-7342. Right now, as of 7:30 this morning, we had 276 bills that are on the list of delinquent tax bills. We have to remove any bills that are protected due to foreclosure or bankruptcy, payment agreements, and then we have those bills that are not likely to sell, and they never do. So we have approximately 190 tax bills that will be sold as of this morning. So all I can tell you is, as the clerk and the person that has to conduct this tax sale, I'm begging, if you are in a jam, call and get a payment plan set up, because you really don't want these sold to third-party purchasers. So that is my plea for the day. We'll be glad to take your payment right up until the time of the tax sale. The county attorney's office is very happy to help. Yes.
Magistrate Greenwell.
Judge. Julie, I'm asking for the general public, why not a personal check?
Because, well, it's not really that they don't have time to clear, it's they can stop payment, and that has happened before. And so we just don't do that.
And all the other potential buyers are gone by then.
Yes, yes. So, and even certified funds have some personality issues that we've run into.
Magistrate Hounds.
I know we do this, but I mean, do they always get sold every year?
Yes.
Is it the same group that buys them every year, or?
Yes, you have to register with the state, and if you have bought bills over the course of several years, you have priority over those bills. But I'm telling you, they are usually here at 7:30 screaming for a list to make sure that it's, up to date. They're ready to go, and they have to, they make deposits. I mean, they're serious about these bills because they make good money off of people that already are maybe struggling.
Interest rate they charge on delinquent taxes?
Because the statute does not give a specific, they say reasonable fees. But what you might think is reasonable, I may not.
All right, thank you, Julie. Anyone else here who would like to address fiscal court?
Judge, magistrates, good afternoon. Jim Urban, Director of Planning and Development Services. As Denise read the minutes from the last meeting, she mentioned that I was here at the last meeting to talk about a special SRC committee meeting that we're going to have on July 29th in this room at 5 p.m. We're going to talk about solar panels, both on individual properties and the solar industry. We have a great guest speaker, Tom Fitzgerald, from Kentucky Resources Council, and so it'll be a very educational event if you can make it. I believe we'll also try to record it in case you can't. So just a reminder of that meeting on the 29th.
Time is it? I'm sorry.
Are we likely to have it in this room instead of the?
Yes, because we've invited elected officials from all the legislative bodies, just again, in case we create a zoning regulation of some sort, they'll at least have this background information. It'll be here.
All right, thank you. Anyone else to address the fiscal court?
Thank you, Judge, magistrates. I'm here to try to correct something that occurred at the meeting on June 15th. I was here at that time. I read the minutes when they were first sent out, and I suggested a couple of corrections, and now the minutes have been approved, and there's still some problems with the way the meeting is described on the 15th. I'd like to try to illustrate that for your convenience. At the beginning of that meeting, the judge called for a motion to accept the agenda, which is normal. He got a motion and a second. The judge then asked if there were any additions to the agenda, at which time I raised my hand, was recognized by the judge, and said, with all due respect, I asked that there be an item added to the agenda to go into executive session. And I explained the statute under which it was covered. The next thing I heard was the judge saying, is there a second to the motion? There wasn't any motion. And the next thing was, for lack of a second, the motion dies. Well, the fact that there was not a motion, I did not make a motion. I asked that we add an item to the agenda. Secondly, you already had a motion on the floor to approve the agenda, so you could not accept the second motion to begin with under parliamentary procedure. But the minutes don't read that way, and I'm not sure how to get them corrected. I know you can file an amendment to a motion previously adopted at a later meeting, even several years later. But I don't know in this particular case how that gets cleaned up. But I think what I said was accurate, and it should be in the minutes. But then when it got twisted into a motion, that's where it kind of ran off the tracks.
Okay. Well, we'll have to check with council on that and see how that can be corrected. Although he did respond with, is there a motion to, or I mean, a second to your motion to go into executive session, and that is probably, I understand that you were just requesting it be put on the agenda. Although later in the meeting, it would have been necessary to take a vote to go into executive session.
Correct.
Right, because we always say, when we go into an executive session at this point, and we take a vote. If the vote would have turned out the same at that point, we wouldn't have gone into executive session.
I did not raise the issue at that time because I figured the end result was going to be there. This body, for whatever reason, did not want to go into executive session or to hear what I wanted to talk about in executive session. So the end result would have been the same. But for the minutes to read that there was a motion, that's incorrect.
Okay.
And my request did not die for lack of a second, because you don't have to second a request to amend it to make an addition to the agenda.
Okay. All right. Well, I think we can talk with current council on how to correct that. Thank you. Anyone else here who would like to address the fiscal court? Seeing no one, we'll close the public comment and go on to the first item on our agenda today, and that is the presentation of tax information and I guess a COVID update at the same time from Oldham County Health Director Matt Rhodes.
Sure, we'll gladly do that. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for inviting us back again. I think, are you going to pull the information on the screen, or okay, I can do it here, I think. I think the first and primary course of business here is to present the public health taxing district information. I don't even know if this, go ahead. Well. Straight, I think. So as you all can see, the revenue for the public health taxing district for your property taxes and so forth, the total revenue is 1.9 million. Disbursements, the Board of Health approved the appropriation to the Health Department operational budget of 1.374 million, and the net revenue you can see there over expense. And you can see there's a note there as well that 1.8 cents is required by statute to support local public health. And that's what the Board of Health has agreed to transfer over from the taxing district. And the last document of relevance as it relates to this particular part of the discussion is that the board agreed to carry forward the tax rate, which is 2.5%, that has been in effect since 2015.
Anybody have any questions for Matt on regarding the health department tax rate? Staying the same, and you're going to. Now you do operate with more than 1.9, don't you? You get grants and other things that.
We do get funding from the state, either through different grants or federal grants and the like. So we do have more money for our operating budget. In fact, one of the things that they're helping us support this year is our pension liability. You know, you all are probably very familiar with that discussion on the state level. And we're very grateful for the state legislature passing House Bill 8, the last legislative session, which really gave us a boost and is helping us with funding in about $425,000 for our CURS pension liability.
All right, so we want to make this clear for the board that this is we have two entities here that are can be confused with each other. One is the Oldham County Health Taxing District, which imposes the 2.5-cent tax. But the taxing district supports the Oldham County Health Department. Money is transferred from the taxing district to the health department as funding is needed to support the overall mission. But the health department itself has other sources of revenue that are not local taxes, state grants, federal grants, anything else you could think of.
Sir, we do have service fees that we charge, yes.
What the overall operating budget of the health department is?
Dee Dee Yant, she's our Director of Administration, so she's the expert here. I want to make sure I get the accurate number. $3.7 for FY '21. 2.4.
0.4. Right. So essentially about $900,000 more than is appropriated from the taxing district comes into the health department to operate the department.
Yes, sir, that is accurate.
How many employees do we have there now?
23 full-time equivalents, and then we have several contracted staff that are working on case management and contact tracing.
They'll have the contact tracers here.
Sir.
Does anybody have a question regarding the health taxing department, taxing district, or health department? Okay. Matt, would you want to update us on the COVID situation?
Sure. Briefly, and I think that this is probably the most relevant slide, and I'll show you another slide as well. This is just a look at the case count for COVID cases over the last, well, now we're in week 4. If you look at 3 weeks ago, we had 5 cases. 2 weeks ago, we were up to 13, and last week we were up to 39. So the reason that I share this information is not to fearmonger, but just to say that COVID is still around. And I want to continue to encourage vaccinations, because what we're seeing is the unvaccinated are at greater risk of getting COVID. And I know a lot of people have suspended wearing masks, and they're going about their normal course of business and functioning in, in a normal manner with their daily lives, but I just want them to be aware that COVID is still out there. And in fact, some of the variants, particularly the Delta variant that you all have probably heard of, is much more virulent, it's much more highly transmissible, it creates a greater viral load, and it's making people sicker. And we're also seeing younger people get sick, and that's one of the populations that we do not have a high vaccination rate with. So we want to encourage individuals, anyone 12 or over can receive a vaccine, and we will have Pfizer at our department now. I know you had questioned about that. So we're working with Baptist Health LaGrange to make sure that we have Pfizer available, and if anyone wants to have an appointment, they can call us and schedule it, 222-3516, and we'll schedule them to come in on Friday morning and get them in and out the door very quickly.
We hear this term Delta variant. Exactly what is the Delta variant? How did it get that name?
Just a variant, and basically they went away from country descriptions with different variants, and what they do is they use alpha, beta, gamma, delta as different descriptive factors for the variants. The Delta variant, which has a long numerical name that I could share with you, not from memory, but basically it indicates the specific variant that they're able to define through genomic sequencing. And they know that this particular variant, which basically they can fingerprint through the genomic sequencing, has the potential to create much sicker individuals, and we're also seeing more breakthrough cases for those individuals that have been vaccinated. But again, the science shows very clearly that those that are unvaccinated are at much greater risk for getting ill now, and we want to make sure that we encourage vaccinations, because it is in fact the most protective factor against COVID. So if we can encourage our vaccination rates up, then we can continue on as we are now. If not, there's some risk of some type of recommendation, which came back from the governor yesterday, recommending individuals to wear masks that are unvaccinated when they're out in indoor environments with individuals that are outside of their household. So if they're going about their normal course of business and they have not been vaccinated, it's a good practice to wear a mask. Otherwise, they can get vaccinated and truly protect themselves in the best manner possible.
Okay, so the Delta variant is something that came from somewhere, but we're not going to say where it came from.
Well, it originated in India. That's where it was originally identified. And like I said, the Delta, Beta, Gamma descriptive is basically to get away from identifying it with a specific region or country.
Someone else have a question? Measure Woosley.
Rhodes, I have 2 questions. Out of the 39 cases last week, how many of those were unvaccinated?
I would have to go back and look for the month of July. Of 55 cases, we had in the adult population that really are the vaccine eligible. We had 37 cases. 25 were vaccinated and 25 were unvaccinated and 12 were vaccinated. So for that particular group, it's a small population, so you can't, go definitively and say it's statistically valid, but almost a third of those individuals had been vaccinated.
And last question, have you seen the variant, the Delta variant in Oldham County?
Identified 3 cases of the Delta variant. It takes a while to get that information back because the samples have to be sent off for genomic sequencing, but they do feed the information back to us. It's often delayed, but we have identified 3 cases in Oldham County that were the Delta variant.
Magistrate Hounds.
Thanks, Judge. I did go to Walmart. That ended up being the best option at the time, and it worked very well, the Walmart in Crestwood. How do you get that information back that that person was vaccinated?
The Kentucky Immunization Registry, they actually capture that information. There's different data sources that feed information back. If you go online that the state of Kentucky has, they're feeding you a data source that looks at counties and providers by county. So when you look at that information, they're just telling you the total number of vaccines that have been provided by providers that are within that county boundary. The Kentucky Immunization Registry actually provides the variable of residence, county of residence, so we can go in there and look explicitly and find out how many Oldham County residents have gotten vaccinated. So,
You see the person, do you get that immunization record updated?
can drill down to the person, yes, absolutely. We can look into the immunization record. Everyone is required that provides vaccine to enter that information into the immunization registry, yes.
Magistrate Greenwell.
Thank you. Matt, going back to your tax presentation, you said you had 23 employees. How many did you have pre-COVID? Or does this show an increase?
It's a very similar number. We've brought on extra contractual employees, but that's been a pretty steady number for how many years?
Okay.
And just to echo what Dee Dee said, we've had about 23 for the last several fiscal years, but we brought on 12 contact tracers and contract staff. And then also, you might remember, I brought on a PIO, Public Information Officer, this year as well.
Or the contract tracers, though, we're being reimbursed, or the state's paying for that essentially, right?
Absolutely, we are.
All right, thank you, Matt. Appreciate you being here and other members of your staff.
Very much.
Charlie Ward.
Yeah, I didn't mention Charlie Ward, our environmental director, is present as well. I want to thank him for all of his efforts.
Now we'll move on to the second presentation today from the Pewee Valley Fire Protection District. We're happy to have Chairman Joe Burkhart and Chief Bob Hamilton.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Good afternoon.
First order of business will be our tax rate. If you all have copies of this, it remains at 10 cents per $100 value on property, vehicles, boats. It's been at this level for at least 20 years, and we continue at this level. The SPGE document our projected revenue for this coming fiscal year is just that, short of $600,000. And our cash, sometimes called reserve, is at $784,000. And our contribution this year, we haven't nailed down the final, but it's about $140,000. Our debt is comprised of an engine that we had purchased and the final payments, well, and the service on our warehouse, our station number 2. The engine stands at 185,000, station 2 at 640. Station 2 came on in 2014, and we negotiated a 15-year debt with a 10-year rollover, or whatever you want to call it. We were able, they actually reached out to us, our lending institution, this past year, and we renegotiated the balance of the 15 years at actually a lower monthly rate than we were paying. So we thought that was a pretty good decision, an easy one. And so we're pretty firm on our debt as it plays out. The 2022 reserve projected contribution is about $109,000. Our 10-year forecast shows that we updated 6 months ago, and we brought this on stream 25 years ago. 10 years that serves the district very well, and it shows that we are projected to be very stable over the 10 years. It's not until 2026 that we are projecting a major engine replacement. We're showing $1 million. Who knows what those engines are going to run 5 years from now, but they're, as you well know, expensive. Finally, we had a clean opinion on both financial and internal controls on our recent audit. We're quite proud of that. It's 2 years in a row that we are completely clean on both aspects. And that concludes my verbal presentation.
All right, Chief Hamilton, would you like to add anything to that?
Going along pretty good. Post-COVID, it's gotten a lot slower. I don't know if people learn how to take better care of their property and themselves, but it's been kind of slow this year. Not complaining about that. That's good news. So we honestly, between fire and EMS runs in June, we only made, I think it was 12 runs. So it was calm.
That's good.
Yes.
That's good news. Anybody have any questions for Burkhardt, the chief? Don't want to wade into something that we shouldn't wade into here, but I do know there have been discussions between Pewee Valley and South Oldham as to working together and trying to create maybe a new, better service for the whole area by cooperation. Is there anything you want to say about that?
Last fall, we got together with South Oldham, and a paper was prepared and has the signatures of the chiefs and the board outlining the benefits of such a possible merger. Also embedded in it are all of the issues that would have to be resolved. Not much else has gone forward, although the chief can talk about a committee that we have put together that is looking into principally the issues that we are concerned about.
We're going to get together on August 2nd, hopefully. There's 2, 3, I think it might end up being 3 people from South Oldham and more from Pewee Valley. They're just going to talk about the hurdles we might need to get over. In the meantime, I've already met with Chief Turner several times, and we are starting to look at purchasing equipment that we don't need to use very often. For example, there's I'll never be able to explain it to you. A mechanized hose roller for 5-inch hose. 5-inch hose rolled up is very heavy. And this rolls the hose up, gets it ready, and we were able to pull 3,000 feet of hose off, test it, and re-rack it in 3 hours. And it helped out quite a bit. We're only going to need it once or twice a year. South Oldham might need it. Well, that's probably. It's not something that a piece of equipment that all of us need to buy on our own. So we're looking into purchase, just as an example.
There's efficiencies that might be picked up between the two organizations. And
in the meantime, it should be noted that the Ballotsville Fire Department has allowed us to use theirs in the past. So
appreciate that. Okay. Anyone? All right, thank you, fellas. Appreciate you being here today.
thank you.
Next item on the agenda, we have some bid openings. This is for a demolition at 6533 Jacob Drive in Westport. We've received 2 bids on that. The house to be taken down. First bid is from BPM of LaGrange here. Brian Adams is the owner. He bids $44,650. Second bid is CD LLC, Cherrywood Place, LaGrange, $31,205. All right, Jim Urban, are you here? Oh, there you are, right there. Take a look at those, and I believe we'll be able to award those at the later in the meeting.
Judge, can I ask a question? Jim and I, before you leave, Jim and I had a conversation the other day of the list of stuff that was on the demolition order, all the items on it. I had a question on a couple of the items, and Jim and I were talking about it. So if we've already bid it, I assume these 2 bidders have bidded with all of those items on the list.
Well, that's what I'm going to examine, and I'll come back at the end of the agenda, and if we can hold those questions till then, I'll have an answer for you.
Okay.
All right?
Dropped a piece of paper there out of one of those packets.
All right, thank you. We'll look at that again later in the meeting here. Next item, we have bid openings for construction management services for the proposed animal control facility. And in regard to that, we have 4 bidders here. The 5th bid did arrive at noon today, but the bidding closed at noon on Friday. The first bid is from Encompass. Pricing. Right.
That's for Paul.
The second submission here is from F.W. Owens Company.
This is on my Lichtenfeld construction. And the final construction manager submission request for qualifications is from Weir Constructors. So, building committee will look it over and make a recommendation at our next meeting.
We won't have a building committee by the next meeting. That's what I was going to ask the chairperson of the building committee as to what the intent is.
Brent, when do you want to have these?
We can have a special meeting after the fall. I don't know what date.
Right, committee's going to have to look at them.
We'll probably, since there's only four, we'll just interview all four of them. So we'll set that up. I said, since there's only four people that responded, we'll interview all four of them and select one of the four to
By the next fiscal court meeting?
amend.
Can you do that by the next meeting, or do you need another meeting?
We can do that by the next meeting.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Now we're on to county administration. We have the bills here to be paid, and when you're ready, we'll accept
I move we pay the bills.
seconded. Is there any discussion on anything in there? Hearing no questions, all in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Carries. Now we have fund transfers. That's item B under county administration. Melissa Horn.
Two actions for you to wrap up fiscal year 21. The first one are the transfers between funds, and these totals are for the year. General fund transferred to the road department, $686,912. The jail transferred back to the general fund, $27,782. The general fund transferred to dispatch, $918,174. And there were no transfers to LGEA. So I need you to approve those transfers.
Moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. These transfers be approved. Are there any questions? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Next item was Melissa Horn again, court security budget transfer.
So, at the beginning of July, we received a check from the state for court facility fees. We had originally assumed that Oldham County would no longer be receiving those fees because the courthouse is temporarily relocated to Crestwood. We contacted the AOC, the Administrative Office of the Courts, to make sure there wasn't a mistake before I cashed a check. And they confirmed that, no, we will continue to receive those fees. They are derived from fines that are assessed on court cases. So, we further investigated this and determined that in addition to receiving the fees, we now also have to show easily how we are expending those court fees. And we have to do that with a new department, which is minutia to you, but it's 5081. We have to reclass the court security officers who are paid through the sheriff's department. We reclass their salaries to this new cost center. That easily shows that we are expending all the fees we've received. So, one more budget transfer for fiscal year 21 is to move a total of $247,000, $130,54 from the sheriff's department to what is now going to be called the Court Security Officers Department.
Motion to that effect?
Second.
Moved and seconded, the, be approved. Well, if I could repeat it.
It's a budget transfer for court security officers.
The new, court securities, line item
Department, cost center, yes.
from the sheriff, right?
Sheriffs, yes.
That's
Good ties.
that's just in addition to the ones we just saw. The list of the budget transfers.
That was money that we received from the unexpectedly.
You're talking about the fund transfers? This particular transfer doesn't affect any other fund because it's within the general fund.
Got it.
Any other comments or questions?
I think, let's bring one thing up, Melissa. We don't know how this affects everyone in the state, but when the courthouse comes back downtown here, this scenario will still exist, correct? Unless they change it.
We believe right now, yes.
So this is just a new way of the new bucket that we have. We got the same amount of money, but just different buckets to put it in. So,
Correct.
so it's more work for our staff.
Any other comments about this? All right, I'm hearing none. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
One opposed? Motion carries. Now we're at the waste tire grant contracts and resolutions. Becky Zockline.
Afternoon, Judge and members of the Fiscal Court. What I'm asking you is to allow the judge to sign this waste tire grant closeout for the 2021 fiscal year. If you can see in the report that we were given a grant of $4,000, and the total costs that were incurred to dispose of 691 tires was $1,858, so we will be returning to the state $2,142 this year.
All right, motion to that effect.
Allow the judge to sign this waste tire grant proposal.
Report.
Second.
Any discussion on this? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, Becky.
We have been having difficulty with getting waste tires removed from our facility over the past few years. And when they're dropped off by farmers and citizens, they're left out in the open. And state regulations require that any amount of tires, waste tires, left out in the open in excess of 75 must be covered. And we've been exceeding that periodically and trying to balance this pile of tires and keep it safe throughout the years. And it's a juggling game because we're waiting for the person to come and pick them up, and we end up out of compliance. So we have to turn people away, and we can't accept all the tires. So in some instances, I've even sent people down to the tire recycler, the local tire recycler, to his facility in Louisville. When LaGrange had their cleanup day, I had to send their truck full of tires down to Louisville, and we paid for that disposal. So I just started researching tire disposal people, and I came across Liberty Tire, and what they can do for us is drop a trailer, a semi-trailer, on our lot or on the maintenance lot, place it beside the existing salt dome, and we can load tires that are dropped off in that trailer where they'll be covered, they'll be safe, and not a threat to the community. And once the trailer is full, it's pulled away for a flat rate of $2,000. We get a $4,000 grant every year. We have never, and the trailer has a capacity of 1,100 tires. We have never, the highest amount of tires that we've disposed of in any single year is 1,039. So I think this is kind of a no-brainer that we can solve this problem of storing and recycling tires for the community in a simple, safe fashion. So I'm asking.
Right, you're asking us to approve this contract with Liberty to put a semi-trailer down there, take up to 1,100 tires. We never get that money. We will pay them $2,000 plus a fuel charge to haul it off. And we're going to get the money to do so from the waste tire grant.
We already have it.
I'd like to make a motion that we allow the judge to enter into an agreement with Liberty Tire Recycling.
Second. Moved and seconded. Any discussion on this, Magistrate Hounds?
They're only going to take the trailer away once a year?
Full.
You said the maximum we've ever done in 1 year is 1,130 something tires. Did I hear that correct?
Yeah, 1,039.
They're going to take the trailer away once a year?
Well, yes.
I understand what we're trying to do, but I guess I'm just trying to figure out what this trailer is going to look like, and are we junking up that area over there by putting a trailer?
The picture of the trailer in the information you got.
I didn't see that when I was flipping through it earlier.
I'd sure rather have a trailer sitting there taking those tires than having all the tires laying around.
It says I've ever seen the tires there when I've been there, so I mean, we must be doing a good enough job we don't see them. Okay.
Ashley Hawkins.
Own the trailer, correct?
It's their trailer.
They allow us to paint it or maybe put some kind of fun mural on it?
Doubt it. I don't think so. Because we're not going to get the same trailer every time.
Or it could be pretty. As pretty as a trailer sitting there could be.
Heck.
Then haul the tires to our hauler, or are they going? Is this a one-stop shop?
One-stop shop. They'll haul the tires back to Indianapolis where they'll be recycled.
Rather than painting something on the side of a trailer, maybe they would allow a tarp, or I don't know exactly what the right term is, but we have a picture of the Ohio River out in the hall. That's not painted on the wall. It's a canvas that we had printed somewhere.
Yeah.
You know, that would be less expensive, and you could just remove it and put it on the next trailer if we were to have something like that.
A good idea.
Does let people know about trailer tires. Okay, Magistrate Dye.
Is this going to be any and all tires, solid, any kind of tires that they're going to take in this trailer?
Yeah, it's
Tires.
Tires, tractor tires, anything except foam-filled tires and treads. Like a
chain treads.
Caterpillar tread.
Caterpillar treads, yeah.
Okay. And if and by chance that we get a reduction in our future grants, this program will go to the wayside because we can't afford the trailer. It's, you know, let's say our 4,000 goes down to 2,000. That
to revisit that. Revisit that.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Magistrate Tice.
this is in my district, so I want to ask a couple of questions. Number one, can the trailer be spotted back by where we do our solid waste disposal building? So therefore, it's kind of over the hill and out of view.
The recycling center?
Seems like there's some space down from there, and we take trailers down there anyway. That's used to spot them at that dock, so we must have room for a trailer down there.
Well, the dock is now completely occupied. We have another semi-trailer there to hold cardboard and paper.
What I was saying
The
is some of
compactor,
the space down next to that, that's over the hill, just past that,
on the gravel lot,
please.
on the gravel lot down further,
Yeah, just on that same level.
I'd have to check. with-
Consider that. That's number one.
Measure it, Tice, all you have to do is go down there and push some of those rock piles down flat. You'd have all the parking you want down there. There's a lot of unlevel ground back there against the maintenance property. You could push it down with a Bobcat, took you all day, a Bobcat. Small bulldozer would be better. You could do that. You could have a place to do it, and that way, if it's down there by the recycling center, you'd have a little more control to seeing what people dropping off.
Good recommendation. So not to me.
Forming you, it's in your district.
I know, and since it is in my district, that's the
She's
reason.
going to hear about it. She's not going to hear about it.
And thank you. But also, we've got the salvage vehicles that we're having to keep for the for the county police department. So we've, in a little bit, created our own little junkyard there. Although it's shedded, it's shielded. Excuse me, that's the wrong word. As you look at that, if there's any way we could clean up that area, it would be nice if that looked a little more presentable as we go forward. Judge and I've talked about it.
Any other comments on this? All right, I think we have a motion and a second, correct? The hearing, none, all in favor of this contract, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item is bid awards for vehicles. Kevin, that's you.
Jim Urban's ready to make a recommendation on the demolition, if we could, or put that in between here maybe.
Sure. I'll stop the report. Okay with that? Any objections? So go ahead.
Ready? First of all, I want to explain what the bid was. It, of course, is to tear down a building that was fire damaged, and we've had code enforcement issues there, and, of course, a number of issues with part of the building still standing. When I put out this bid, I put out a number of line items to make sure that if we wanted to tear down just the fire damaged building, we had a bid. If we wanted to take out the foundation, we had a bid. If we wanted to take out the garage, the pool, the septic system, we had bids. So we had a line item for each one. On the bid, I said that Oldham County Fiscal Court reserves the right to, number one, delete any items. So that what I wanted to do is be able to bid everything out in case as we went along this project and we decided we need to take more of this stuff out, we already had bids. The two bidders were CD LLC and BPM LLC. Both are LaGrange companies and both are in good standing with the Secretary of State and then the federal, I forget what it is, but yeah, so Melissa had vetted those. CD LLC, although had the lower bid amount, they didn't bid every line item. And so when I compared the BPM line items with the ones that were bid by CD, BPM, again, they had a complete bid, so they bid every line item, and their amount was $44,650, where CD was $31,205. When I looked at the BPM line items, their total came out to $19,850. So if I look at just the two that were bid, I think first of all we should reject the CD because it wasn't complete. But if I do it fairly and look at just the line items that were bid, BPM is still a lower price, $19,850 versus $31,205. So, of course, if you may have questions, I would recommend that we consider awarding this to BPM, which is Bluegrass Property Management Company. And for the total amount of $44,650, and again, knowing that we may not do every single one of these line items, because they,
Which line items we're going to do and when we're going to do them.
you know, I talked, as an example, I talked to Charlie Ward at the health department about why should we take out a septic system? Well, if somebody wanted an absolutely clean site, so they could put anything wherever they wanted, a house, a pool, or whatever else, and we were to clear the site, the septic system is probably usable, so I always thought, well, we might not. But again, I didn't want to have to come back and bid it if later we decided we should have taken that out. So I know that we are going to remove the fire damaged part of the property. And again, if that was one of the bid items, first of all, we have to put up erosion control measures and disconnect any utilities that might still exist that are connected, and then remove the rest of the single-family structure. At that point, we've probably accomplished our real purpose, which is getting the fire-damaged part of the building out of there. However, we still have to secure the foundation because we'd have an open foundation. So what I'm suggesting we do is take out just the fire-damaged part of the property. Now, again, this is complicated by the fact that we're then going to go and ask the owners to pay for this, because we're going to get in a contract with somebody to remove that fire-damaged property, ask the owners to pay for it. They have been non-responsive to us in the past. I would expect that they are non-responsive paying the bill now. And then, if that's the case, we would file a lien and then foreclose on the lien. And then it would go to commissioner's sale. So, I mean, this is a pretty complex, what do we do about this? But at least, and certainly, we should remove the fire damage part of the property.
Make the decision.
Referred to the judge. He and I talk about this stuff all the time. You know, the balance of the garage, which is a detached garage that was not fire damaged, and the pool are still functional, and the septic system is still functional, but we end up with another liability if we leave the foundation there. And so we'd have to secure the building, secure the open foundation, because the process of going through that lien and foreclosure, if they don't pay the bill, is going to take several months. So we'd have to keep the fence up around the property and make sure it's secure. Congratulations, Mr. Woosley, you're a magistrate for the district now. I would refer to you as well, and knowing that the citizens down there had some concerns about.
Pretty much a nightmare.
Yeah.
And the problem with maintaining a foundation there is that off Mayo Lane, somebody fell into an open foundation and died. So we're, we do not need to have any kind of a risk out there we can't put a guard up on the building or property.
Question is really a good one, and that's why I bid all the items, so that we would have companies bidding on the potential removal of everything if that's where we needed to go.
Mr. Greenwell.
The liability, and I hate to waste anything, but given the liability situation that we might face, why don't we just take it all out and start over fresh? I mean, at the garage, I'd kill to have that garage. Swimming pool, anybody would like to have a swimming pool, or some people would, but still it's a liability facing this court that we didn't ask for. So I would suggest that we just start from scratch and take it all out.
Are we going to have enough foreclosure money there to cover that?
If we look at the total bid, again, BPM bid $44,650, and again, maybe we leave the septic system, but that was their total bid for everything, seed and straw, grade, positively grade, and then seed and straw, we'd have a clean slate. That's what we would ask the owners to pay us back, $44,650. If they don't, we place a lien, and then we can foreclose on that lien.
That is a property without a mortgage, correct?
That's correct. There are additional liens on the property from other sources, and I can't remember the total, including us already, correct? Yeah, because we have not been paid for the fence that's been placed around there, and we've paid for that. So we're probably approaching probably about $75,000 if we were to remove everything with this, awarding this contract.
1.3 acres of property.
And when I say about, because I don't know if there have been new liens placed on the property recently, there were a couple of recent ones.
Are there any people here in the room this afternoon who would like to comment on this or have some interest in it that they would like to bring up a point of view about? All right, I don't see anybody who would like to say anything. Mr. Dawkins?
When we talked about this before, I've got a question. So was there no response from the owners, or was there a response saying, there's nothing I can do about it?
They had, if you remember, Fiscal Court declared this property a dilapidated structure. Going back several months ago, Mark Tice, our chief building inspector, looked at it and said it is a safety hazard, and part of the building being burned was not salvageable. So Fiscal Court declared it dilapidated. We then had to come back here because we didn't properly post notice to the owners. So they had 30 days and then I think another 15 days to appeal our decision. And as far as I've never gotten an appeal. I'm looking at Tate to see if whether Fiscal Court in one way, shape, or form ever got an appeal notice, and I don't think we ever got one. So we have not heard from the property owners.
My second comment then is, I remember the liens being about 25. You're adding about 5 on there, or approximately, in case something new came up. This is about 45. If we go with BPM, the lot, when that realtor was here, Mr. Hall, was going to sell it for somewhere under 100K. I think that we would get our money back if we went with this full 44,000 bid.
We would have no idea. That'd be pure speculation.
It would be speculation, but I think it would be safer to go with Magistrate Greenwell's comment earlier, safer just to do it all 45,000, call it a day, and then be able to sell the lot, you know, a cleared lot.
Judge,
Mr. Tice?
the only thought that I had on it, and it's what Jim discussed with Jim the other day, was that with the septic and the lateral lines, which are all below ground, and to my knowledge, I don't think there'd be anything of liability for us on that. If there is, somebody needs to tell me that we could leave that part alone, and then all the structures as well as the basement that's above ground, then take it out. And I don't know how much money we're talking about saving by doing that, Jim.
It would be pump and remove septic system. The bid from BPM was $500.
Minimal. That's so small.
That's no big deal.
That's no money, I'm sorry. Let's take it out. Okay.
Die?
In hearing, I understand, Mr. Urban, what you did with you trying to get a sort of a different way of getting this thing, you know, well, we'd leave this and take that and all that, which I understand what you were doing. I didn't particularly agree with that particular philosophy now that I hear you say it. It seems like we are back where we were 45 days ago or so. I thought what we were doing here was going to tear down a house that was partially damaged. I don't think it's fair for either one of the two players that put their bids in, unless it was explicitly denoted that do what you want here, unless you adequately transfer to them what they were going to do. Well, you can do this, leave, you know, it's like you take this and take that. You know, I don't know what you were trying to do there, but when you kept talking, you kept saying, well, we have to take care of this, and we have to take care of that. And I'm assuming every time you said we, you meant Fiscal Court. I thought what we're doing here is trying to get somebody to go in and tear down a house, either in part or in its entirety, for our bid, and they're going to take care of getting the electric taken care of, and they're going to get and all that.
It's in the bid. Mm-hmm.
I kept hearing you say we's. I don't know who these we's were. That's what threw me off.
Fiscal court declared it a dilapidated structure. It becomes we, and my office is doing this. The we is fiscal court, and I'm your agent doing this. So
To tear something down, some of those we responsibilities become them responsibilities, don't they? Like disconnecting the existing electric or.
it's in the bid.
Okay.
They need to make sure that
But when you were saying it earlier, it sounded as if we were redoing the responsibilities for that. That's what it sounded like for me. I'm over here. But if that's not what you meant, that's okay. But I don't know why. I think we ought to throw the bids out and just go out there and just say, like Magic Greenwood said, all we want to do is tear this house down. Why are we trying to save a swimming pool and sewer lines and our sewer septic system and all that? People tear down houses all the time, and I don't think it gets that deep into it. But I don't think it's fair to either one of those two people unless they knew that they could pick and choose what they wanted to do.
It says right here.
Bid on that.
Right here on the.
Well, that's what
it says on the bid, and like I said earlier, everybody was supposed to bid on all the line items. We could then, fiscal court could choose, as an example, if we think that it's wise to leave the septic system in the ground. And
where's that we again? We think it's wise to leave the system in the ground.
This is who's doing it. We are doing it. Fiscal court and me. I'm not sure why you're picking on the we, because we became responsible when we declared this dilapidated. We being fiscal court.
My question is why would we think that leaving that septic system would be good? We're not septic system people here. We're just trying to tear a building down. I think it's getting too complicated. Maybe it's just me.
Hey, well, I don't know. I mean, I agree with about everything that's said. Other than I hate to step up to the biggest thing, and I don't know exactly what, just level this whole operation and get back to a clear, clean lot with nothing on it, and if we can get our money out of it and let somebody come in and buy it, and I think some of the effort there was not to have to start over for a successor owner and destroy things that didn't need to be rebuilt. But it does seem to be creating a safety to have things that are in open pits, so to speak, or we don't have good security down there. I mean, if we could lock that up as tight as a drum, I think I would be in favor of not taking out any more than you had to take out. But if somebody can wander in there and get hurt, and kids are knuckleheads, they're out doing whatever they can, I don't know if we have any liability there or not. Holmes, I mean, is it we condemn this and somebody gets hurt there after the fact? Is this fall back to us or go with the owner of the property?
Eco, imagine.
Pardon?
Can't hear you. Can't hear you.
I've got a difficult situation here, I'm telling you that right now. And it's going to be a lot more expensive than $44,000 I ever thought about being. I don't remember how much was already against it when I read the title. Remember? Then I'm sure there's more since all this has happened. That gentleman was in jail, and now he's been released. She's disappeared down in Scott County or someplace. I tried to search her sheriff. But anyway, we're going to have a swimming pool there. Now, you're going to take it out of the ground and cover it up. We're going to have to fill it up with sand. Some kid's going to go over there and fall in it and get hurt and all this kind of stuff. If you take the foundation out, it's just at that point you got to smooth it out. Nobody's going to buy it with all those other things pending. And if they're going to build a house, they want to make sure they can put whatever they want before they start bidding on it. As I recall, the PPA on it was only about $90,000 or something. It's a lot, but I don't know. I'm not here to just tell you you've got liability, but you've got coverage through KCO. You get sued, KCO will defend you. If you tear it down, you got
those expenses and you'll just add it on. You won't be ahead of anybody. You'll be right in line with everybody else who's filed liens on it already. Some of them are ahead of you already. And, it's just what it is. And these people are, I don't know what they're going to do. They're not paying the taxes on their own guess. I'll just have to,
Well,
you made the decision to tear it down. The decision you all made instead of going forward with foreclosure. You're still going to have to foreclose ultimately to get it sold. That's the only way it's going to get sold. Unless the owners, for some ways, step up and hire agents to sell it for them. Who knows? I mean, somebody say he might go back down and live in the house. I don't know where he is. I don't know what their situation is.
we got a big hypothetical here, even though we have insurance if someone goes over there and gets hurt.
Insurance?
I want to back it up one step. I don't want anybody to get hurt. Or if I have insurance or not, that don't want to create a risk. And it is an attractive nuisance, possibly. There aren't that many people live down there, but
You got a magistrate right at the end. It's a real estate. You know what do you think?
You have two bids on the table. I'd pick one and go with it.
What do you think it's worth, though?
That was not the question. That was not the question he asked you.
I heard what his question was, but the whole point of this thing, we've already bid this out. We got the bids. We need to take one and move on.
Is there a motion on the floor, Judge? Not yet. I make a motion that we go with the most responsive bidder according to Mr. Urban, which is BPM LLC, and we take the whole thing down, grass, seed, straw.
in other words, your motion here is just to
Level it.
Level it and raise up the ground that's been pressed through a pool and whatever septic tank, fill that all in, and just get it right back to nature.
Yes, sir.
Magistrate Hounds, does yours include no more than 44,650?
That's the bid that we have in front of us.
Is that part of your motion?
That's the bid that we have in front of us.
For the entire 9 yards, is that right?
That's what Mr. Urban is telling me, so I can't speak to that.
All right, is there a second on that?
I'll second that.
Any further discussion?
Judge, how long would it take if we foreclosed it, took possession of it, and then tried to resell it?
It's, first you have to give the owners an opportunity to pay this bill. If they don't, then you file a lien, then you foreclose on the lien, and Tate could answer that question better. That's 3 months at least, wouldn't it be?
At least that long. Just regular litigation on foreclosure is going to take 90 days, 120 days, assuming no complications arise with all the people that are going to be interested in this property in one way or another.
You are facing a length of time for that process.
Magistrate Woosley, you're coming late to the party here. We've been dealing with this for a year. And we've listened to expectations that something was going to happen, that was going to get bought, that was just can't get it pinned down any other way, apparently. Mr. Hawkins.
The bid to include the number 44,650 if possible.
Motion to include.
Magistrate Hounds is acceptable to that.
Okay.
Is there a time frame when it will be taken down after the bid's awarded?
We would sign, the judge could sign a contract, and as soon as they're available, which I would hope is in the next week or two.
Right. Get on it right away and not have to pay a day longer for the fence than we have to.
To go. I mean, it's all the notice has been given, and so as soon as they're available, they would.
It's an unfortunate circumstance all the way around, and there have been people who have stepped up and tried to help in one way or another on this and do something, but can't seem to be able to put it all together in one package the way it needs to be. So. All right, hearing no further motions or discussion, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Appreciate your patience on this and understanding. Thank you.
Now we'll move on with the next item on the agenda here, and we'll take a break in a few minutes. I know people have asked for that. All right. Okay. Got a request to take a break. Kevin?
I'll make that motion.
All right. Second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Into session.
So moved.
Favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Item on the agenda is under contracts and resolutions here, we have bid awards for multiple vehicles.
As Denise read in the minutes, at the beginning of the meeting, we opened bids for 3 vehicles at the last meeting, and I'm here to recommend awarding those bids. 2 of them are going to be pretty straightforward, and I'll explain the third one. We'll start with the Parks Department. They had requested a 1-ton diesel pickup truck. The only bid, but was responsive, was Champion Chevrolet at $43,887. And I would ask the court to accept that bid and award that bid to Champion Chevrolet.
So moved. Second.
Discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Second bid was for a pickup truck to the engineering department, and we received 2 bids, but they were both from Champion Chevrolet. The low responsive bid on that was $24,992, and I would ask the court to award that pickup truck to Champion Chevrolet.
Second.
I'd like to make note that that's 2 different pickup trucks in terms of their capabilities, but engineering said they could get by with the smaller truck and that will fit their needs. So that's the difference in the price discrepancy to some point.
Any of these vehicles on the lot?
To be ordered. The 2 champions are going to have to be ordered.
What the lead time is?
Tolsdorf at Champion Chevrolet said he would do it as expeditiously as possible, but in all honesty, he couldn't give me a good timetable. And we didn't ask for in the specs.
Understand. Thank you.
All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
One opposed? Motion carries. Next item.
Third vehicle was for the Coroner SUV. We received 2 bids for that. The first bid was from John Jones Auto Group at $36,467 for a Dodge Durango. The second bid came in from Champion Chevrolet on a Chevrolet Traverse for $27,214. So in that bid, Champion Chevrolet was the low bid. However, today we talked in the Finance Committee meeting. Coroner Pendleton asked me for if it would be possible to get a quote on the Traverse that Champion bid was a front-wheel drive vehicle, and he really wanted an all-wheel or a 4-wheel drive vehicle. So I talked to Champion Chevrolet, and Fred Tolsdorf said that he could upgrade the Traverse to an all-wheel drive for a cost of $29,209, so about a $2,000 increase. However, as Magistrate Hounds just said, all these vehicles have to be ordered and manufactured and ordered, and with the lead time and the chip issue, we don't know exactly when the vehicle could get in. So today in the Finance Committee meeting, we talked to, Coroner and I met with the Finance Committee, and we talked to them about potentially John Jones still does have this Durango that he bid on the lot available to purchase today. Again, the bid price was $36,467. He is willing to take off another $500 from that vehicle. So the Finance Committee, I believe, recommended today that we purchase that vehicle for $35,967,000.
Second.
Moved and seconded that we purchase the John Jones Durango for $36,467 minus $500, whatever that is, $35,000. What? $967.
Yes.
Discussions on that, Magistrate Tice.
In a round number, what's the price difference? The Durango, how much?
About $6,000.
$6,000. And did you have any idea from Fred how quick he thought he could get them?
He honestly does not know. The other 2 vehicles that we bid are not replacement vehicles. They're not emergency replacement vehicles. The coroner is driving a vehicle that's living on very borrowed time. So the other factor in this was that if it takes 6 or 8 months to get the Champion Chevrolet vehicle in, and that could be an optimistic time frame, that the coroner's vehicle may not last that long, because that's a vehicle that we bought from LaGrange Fire Department a couple years ago.
So you're thinking 5 to 6 or 6 to 8 months to get it is an optimistic?
Potentially, yes. Just on when we order police vehicles, it's several months on getting vehicles in on a good time. It could be closer to a year. We just don't know.
Thank you.
Greenwell.
Thank you. One thing I failed to ask in finance, is this Durango a 21 or a 22?
His bid.
22, 20.
2020 Durango Pursuit all-wheel drive vehicle. But he does have it on the lot.
Manager Hawkins.
This has been asked, but I'm going to ask it just a little differently. Did John Jones tell you a time frame
Lot, it's available today.
for the one that's, the difference is 6,753?
Different dealerships.
Did Champion Chevrolet tell you specifically when they?
An email from Fred Tolsdorf, and he honestly cannot give me a date on any of these vehicles because of the chip issues. We would get in line with other orders that are in front of us. So I have no idea.
Judge,
Measure Woosley.
the Traverse is a standard Traverse, is that correct? And the Durango is the police package that has the higher alternator and able to put lights in it, which is what the coroner will need.
It's what he would like, yes.
Head should die.
The reason why there's a difference, I like the court see the difference in price being higher, but as Kevin, as Deputy Judge Nuss has said, that this is something that is what kind of twixt in between. We've got a vehicle now that he's using that is aged and is aging out. We don't know how quickly it'll age out. I think I heard the number $2,000 was spent recently on the not recently, but the last bill was $2,000. This is something, there's a little difference between engineering a vehicle and someone who's in the coroner business. So we figured that we're going to hedge the bet and pay a little bit more and get something he can get himself into and get the job done. We don't want to be slacking up on something that is imperative to the community as a proper operating coroner's office.
Anyone else? We've got a motion on the floor to go ahead and take the John Jones Auto Group Durango for $35,967. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next item has to do with maintenance. Rodney Gabbert here, Akita Box MSA agreement.
I'm just here to put the Akita box out for re-signing of the contracts so that we have our software to maintain and keep track of how we work on the buildings. So this has been out, this will be our third renewal of it. Our purchase, our second renewal, and this will be our third renewal.
Would you like to explain to Magistrate Woolsey what the Akita box is?
Akita box that we have is basically a program that they blueprint our buildings, each individual room, all our different systems as far as like our boiler systems or AC, anything like that. And then they give us a blueprint and we're able to put anything in it as far as we can put style of light, number of lights, outlets, just about anything you can imagine in the room that we can put in there to keep track of what's in these rooms, how often we work in the room, the cost of what we replace in that room, the detention center, for instance. When Joe goes down and works on a lock, say he works on a lock 219, he can document what he did to that lock, how many times he's worked on that lock, how many times that certain function has failed on that lock, and keep documentation and track of how many times things have failed and how many times we've gone back and worked on them. So it's just a really handy program that we use, and I'd like to keep it.
much does it
And then we
cost?
send the contract with the key box.
I'll second that. Second. Is there any discussion, further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
One opposed. Motion carries. The next item has to do with the courtroom camera system service contract. Jay is around the corner in the other room. They're actually trying to run the system for this meeting. So I'd like to just say that Walker is a group that is able to provide a remote service if we need it. We don't expect them to ever have to be on site, but if something goes wrong, they can remote in. Their fee is $95 an hour to remote in and fix anything if something does go wrong. Where Jay assures me we have a high probability of little or nothing going wrong, but we all know that things can happen from time to time. So he would like this contract with Walker approved if we need him for a fallback position.
I'll make that motion, Judge. I spoke with Jay about it, and he spoke in a way that he said this was not a high dollar item. He didn't feel that we would even be using it, but it need to have a backup somewhere along the way.
Right. We may never call on him. It's just you've got to have somebody in reserve.
Just for clarification, on the agenda, it's misspelled. It's Wuchter, W-U-C-H-T-E-R on the agenda.
All right, thank you. There's Walker here, W-A instead of W-U. All right, no further questions. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now we have our Highway 22 corridor planning study agreement with the KYTC. Brenda Demas will lead us through that.
An agreement between Oldham County Fiscal Court and the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet in the amount of $202,500 in federal SLO funds with a required local match of $50,625 for a corridor planning study along Kentucky 22 between Hounds Lane and Kentucky 329. This agreement was originally approved by Fiscal Court on May 4th. However, KYTC recognized that they had made an error and referred to Kentucky 22 as US 42 in the document. So they're just asking that we approve a corrected agreement. There aren't any other changes other than they changed that from US to Kentucky. And we're asking Fiscal Court to allow Judge Vogel to sign the corrected agreement and the resolution.
So move.
Discussion. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next item is the Buckner Connector Project Agreement.
This is an agreement with GRW Engineers for engineering services required to relocate Oldham County water lines for the Buckner Connector Commerce Parkway Extension Project. The agreement is for $59,585.20. As part of the Buckner Connector project, federal funds with a 20% local match will be used to meet the cost. And we're asking Fiscal Court to allow Judge Vogel to sign the agreement.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on this item? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
I have one question. When do you think that this is, we're going to start moving some dirt? That's my favorite question for you.
You know, our hope is still this calendar year. Obviously, it won't be completed this year, but we still hope that, fingers crossed, we'll be able
At least first thing in the spring? About the time the ramps start?
hope that we'll bid it, and then they can start the pre-construction work over the winter.
All right, thank you.
Was that the vote taken before or after the question? I think it was taken before the question. Your question to follow up, right? No. Everybody had, that was unanimous. Now we have the Tetra Tech contract for Jim Urban.
Judge and magistrates, I'm here to ask the Fiscal Court to approve a scope of work and fee schedule for Tetra Tech to develop a master plan for Schomburg Park in Westport and allow the judge to sign the contract with a not-to-exceed amount of $105,000. So That's the purpose for me standing here. Tetra Tech and their team was actually selected as consultants to Fiscal Court in November of 2018, a process we put out, a RFQ, request for qualifications, and that team was selected. And since then, Tetra Tech has had 2 contracts that they've worked on. So this will be the 3rd contract we're getting into regarding the Westport Park. This particular one is to create a master plan for the park in conjunction with the Schomback Park Master Plan Team, which is the Judge Executive's Office, the Parks Committee, Parks Director, the County Engineer, and the Planning Office. So the proposal that was in your packet has a list of tasks. The first thing I want to point out is that the Tetra Tech team, they've added a member. It consists of Tetra Tech, which is an engineering firm, Joseph and Joseph Architects, and then Resource Environmental Solutions, which was formerly Red Wing, and then Environs Jones Landscape Architecture. So they put additional people on the team that they feel will help in us preparing this master plan. And the project master plan approach is in the proposal. The first thing they would do is that they would have a project initiation meeting with all of their members and all of our members to go over basically the goals of the master plan project. They would then review all the existing material, and also that's task 2, and then task 3, which is an inventory and assessment of existing conditions. And by doing that, they would then have a framework to help us make decisions regarding the master plan. In conjunction with task 3, we've added, and Jim Silliman and I had conversations with both Tetra Tech and RES regarding a mussel study. In the past, we did a reconnaissance of the mussels, and the observation was that there were potential conditions for habitat for mussels, and mussels that in particular that are on the federally listed species. Well, they're not actually endangered. They're federally listed, so they haven't been declared endangered just yet, but they want to protect them. So what we're recommending is that we go ahead and do a mussel survey, and it is in the fee schedule, which I'll talk about in a moment, option A, and that's for $12,200, and that is a qualitative review of the potential or whether or not there's going to be mussels there. So they will actually put scuba divers in the water. They will collect any observed mussels. They'll examine them to see if any of them are on the federally listed species. After doing all that, we would then have a community meeting as task 4, and where we would gather additional input from the public. If you remember, we did a survey a while back, and we've been collecting information about Schomback Park for quite some time now, probably at least 6 months, if not longer. And so we would have a meeting where they would come up with some concepts for a master plan, and then the public would be able to come and comment. And from that, they would then produce 2 concept master plans. That's task 5, and work again with the Schomback Park planning team, and then determine which of those 2 concepts or components of those concepts are the ones that they want to move forward, and then create one final master plan and a master plan report, which is task 6. And of course, they also have oversight over all of the other consultants that they are subcontracting with, and they would be managing those consultants. So again, when I made the introduction, what we're asking is that fiscal court approve a not to exceed amount of $105,000. Magistrate Tice has rounded up numbers. It's a lot easier to talk about that. But we don't anticipate spending all of that money, because what we're proposing is that we, along with the tasks that Tetra Tech and their team members do, we would add the qualitative mussel study for $12,210. So the total that we anticipate spending would be $77,885. Now, why are we asking for $105,000? If in fact mussels are discovered
then they put divers back in the water, and they have a air supply line, and they would create a grid and do a much more intensive study and determine exactly whether, how many of the mussels were there. And that would add an additional $26,950. So that's the upset amount, the $105,000. The schedule is about 145 days from the notice to proceed. So that would push us into about February to get through this master planning process. And they are suggesting in their timeline that was in their proposal that they have a community meeting, community engagement meeting, and it looks like in their schedule when they first put it together, it was somewhere between Thanksgiving and Christmas. I'm going to suggest we move it to January, just so we don't conflict with any holidays or maybe even basketball games. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you all might have. We did have a special Parks Committee meeting last Wednesday. I think that they did vote to suggest that fiscal court approve this, and I'll call on Magistrate Tice to, in that regard. So that's the recommendation at this point.
One issue I have with this timing of this study is that if we're going to apply for a grant from the Department of Natural Resources for help with a second ramp at Westport, that paperwork has to be in by February 1st. So not having a completed report or a plan available by then puts us at a disadvantage, because the more information you have, the more likely we are to be able to receive a grant, and they only award these once a year. So we miss that day, we're going to be in the hole for a year there. Magistrate Hobbins.
I have a couple questions. The first one is, let's say we find mussels.
Pardon?
Do we need a motion before we start discussion?
Well, we can move on to
I mean,
grant, maybe.
like to do is address Judge's concern is on the additional, and let me do the motion in a second, but to address his concern on the additional ramp. Now, we're not talking docks, we're talking about ramps to put boats into the river. That is kind of a standalone project that's going to be over here by itself. It will not affect Tetra Tech, or as we're moving through the study for the Westport Master Plan with Tetra Tech, this could be a standalone that if we get that grant, it'll just move right in there with it and shouldn't affect anything that we're doing with Tetra Tech. So that's the answer to the Judge's question. So because of the urgency on that and getting grants, we'll continue to move forward with that as a standalone over here on the side that'll fit in, and that cost or whatever we could get as far as a grant would be in addition to that. Okay.
All I'm saying in relation to that is that showing up, say we like a grant to put another ramp in our Schomburg Park is great, but if we show up with a organized plan for the development of the park with the paperwork we submit asking for the grant, our chance of getting it's going to be significantly higher.
And with that in mind, the only thing we can do is ask Tetra Tech to do their job as fast as they can. That's kind of out of our hands. But
In the schedule, it has like owner review, that would be the county, and it gives, it's kind of generous. There are some reviews that are 5 or 10 or 15 days, and certainly on our side, we could review it faster. So we can help with that schedule by just once they submit.
meeting this morning, we even talked about that. So I don't have any intention of that laying away. It's be moved in there quickly.
Make a motion.
And I haven't made the motion on the other. So let's go to that so we can get to that, okay? So now we're going to ask, the motion is approval up to $105,000 for master plan development by Tetra Tech for the Schomburg Westport Park.
Second.
Okay, all right. Now we have discussion. Magistrate Logston.
So doing the mussel study is going to be anywhere from $12,950 to $26,950. Once we approve this, if we do approve it, how many years does that mussel plan stay in effect before if it takes us 2 years to build something down there, do we have to do that again? Spend this money again? Because mussels can float down the stream tomorrow, and they might not find anything today, but tomorrow they could be there. So will we have to spend this money again as soon as we start building to make sure there's no mussels there?
Really good question, and I'm looking in the proposal from RES to see if there's any indication. I don't have an answer, but I can, yep. Yep.
Question is that had not been discussed, but that'll be one of the topics we take off with Tetra Tech right off the beginning, because none of us are the engineering people or the technical people that'll be doing the study. So that'll be one of other questions we've got that we'll ask them right off the bat. I don't like spending money that we don't have to spend, but we still have to go forward for that. And then we'll be reporting back to the court periodically.
So I've texted Kirsten at RES, and I'll see if she answers by the time we get through this discussion.
Measure hounds.
If we're not going to disturb the water's edge, do we have to do the mussels study?
No.
But we're already committing to doing something at the water's edge?
Well, we aren't, but that's part of the project initiation and the discussion about what we do, and I would imagine that we come up pretty quickly with where we're heading with this. Now, I'm going to read from their proposal because so they're going to determine the presence or probable absence of federally listed mussel species. And in doing that, they'll coordinate with U.S. Fish and Wildlife. Their qualitative review goes out 10 meters into the channel from the bank and 275 meters along the bank. So they're going to go out 10 meters and from the bank.
That mean?
If we're at the, and I'm going to see if Jim Silliman can help me here, because there's a high water mark and a normal pool, and my understanding is that if we're in anywhere on the bank of the river within that high water mark, that we have to look at mussels.
I concur. Yeah, so if the planned construction is disturbing within that ordinary high water mark, they do need to do the survey, the study, the mussel study.
Yes, I'm going, okay. To me, it seems like the mussel study is putting the cart before the horse.
And one of the intents of the way Jim and Magistrate Tyson and the Parks Committee were trying to set this up was, again, as Jim said, we'll have a kickoff meeting at the very beginning of this project schedule. And if for some reason something is determined that the course that the county wants to follow isn't getting into the water or into that ordinary high water, then we wouldn't need to spend that money. But with the not to exceed amount, if the county does want to proceed with something as we've been looking currently, then we've got the availability to do that.
Precisely, yeah. So if we were designing something and found that there were mussels, we may want to change course. If it was out in the bank, out in the water.
Wouldn't it make more sense to make the decision if we're going to get into the potential of the mussels? Because, so, if I'm looking at this right, if we know, and maybe you already know and you're not telling us, that we're already going to get into the river's edge, is what I'm going to call it. It may not be the right technical term. Then we have to do the mussel study. But if we make the decision that we're not going to be into the water's edge, then we don't need to we're not going to disturb the mussels. We don't have to do the mussel study at all. So it seems like if we make that decision today, not today, if the committee makes that decision right away, then we could eliminate either $12,000 or $26,000 right off the bat. I understand you're asking for the not to exceed, but I
is to ask for the higher cost that would result in having to do everything. However, if at a later date it's determined that the lower cost is the course to go, then we can still go back to that. Instead of choosing now to only do an option without that, and then finding out later we do want to do the mussel survey, and then we've got to come back and go through this process again.
So then the next piece of the question is that I guess we don't have any idea what I'm going to call it mussel mitigation is going to be. I mean, I don't know what the term is. I mean, do we have an idea? I mean, is this a $5,000 pay a fine, pay a fee, pay an application, or is this relocating them like other species?
I don't know that right now.
Have any cost estimate at all?
We don't know, again, the probable existence. So how can you get an estimate when you don't know, is it a small?
Easily. No, I would disagree. I would think that our consultant, having done something similar to this in the past, could give us a range or say if you have this amount of mussels, then your estimated cost, and I don't have any idea, could be $5,000. But if you have a huge population, then your cost is going to be exponentially more. I'm just trying to figure out, it seems like we got a lot of exposure that, I don't know, I mean, it's like we're hunting.
Budget. It's just presenting a budget. Let's not get back into that having to apply for and approve every single step, or we might as well just drop this project right where it is and forget it. Because if we're going to argue about every inch of every mile, it's not worth doing. And that's what we're getting into again here right now with arguing about the mussel study. If we're not going to make a nice park down there with a nice river's edge that looks like captain's quarters, I'm voting no on it. I'm tired of trying to nickel and dime. It's a beautiful place. It could be a wonderful park for our community, a show place. But we're backing into this again and again and again, arguing over every inch of everything. So let's just drop the idea and move on to something else. You know, let it go at that. Clean up the riverbank and let's just forget it. You know, I mean, that's about the point that I'm
Judge, I'm just trying.
Something you tried to date a girl for a long time. She finally agrees to go out with you. You said, well, you know, I don't like you anymore.
I'm just trying to see what the exposure is. I'm just trying to see what our financial exposure is, and I think that's a legitimate question. I struggle with the fact that the folks at, I'm going to get the name wrong, but the used to be Red Wing, can't come up with some kind of budgetary number. That's all I'm asking. I'm just trying to understand.
Chance yet, have we?
Yeah, it's difficult to give you a range when we don't know, is there a small population or a large population? I did.
Said was they ought to be able to use their past knowledge and say, if you have this amount of mussels, I don't care what's in the water today, but they ought to give us a range and say, if it's this size population, it could be this. That way we know what our exposure is. At the end of the day, if they come back and say they got a population of New York City and it's going to cost you $1 million to get rid of these mussels, I'm out.
Well, they actually, and Jim and I had conversations with them, don't believe they will actually find mussels. The kind that are on the federal list.
Okay.
I think what he's trying to get to is, it's like over at the reserve, again, and bad, take it down. They know what the mitigation factors are. If you want to do something to certain strength, mitigation costs. They should have in their database, I would think, I don't know about mussels, but it seems like they're in that business. They should have some clue of what a mitigation would be if mitigation was needed and what kind of mitigation it may be. But Judge, to your point, I think you're getting a little too quick on the trigger here. Asking these questions is going to make it. It's going to give us the answer to where we want to go, and maybe end up with something better than even you anticipate. Not doing it. So I don't see people kind of nickel and dime it, but now that you've brought it up, I'm not real excited about putting any money in the water's edge, because that's going to be a huge maintenance factor down the road, unless somebody tells me different. But I know every time it floods in the Ohio River, I know how often captain's quarters have got to close up to get the place cleaned up. So,
I'll go back there after we clean it up. I think we need something down there the fire department can come down and spray off, rather than having to send the road department down there to fish a ton of junk out of there like we have this week. Every time the water goes up, it's going to leave a bunch of junk there.
see, but
Why don't we try to beat that if we can?
No one's ever mentioned that for just this moment. That's the point of the question. Let's just take your finger off the trigger.
Okay, well, I understand Chris's question here. How much is if we have a big muscle? But I believe Kristen said that she didn't think she thought it was going to be little and nothing down there. That's why she's recommended doing the $12,000 part, not the 26, because their experience says that they're going to run into anything.
I understand. That had been information that had been nice 10 minutes ago.
You all are privy to information that we don't have. Kristen said this. I don't know who Kristen is. She's with Red Wing, I bet.
But with due respect, please, if we had this question on Friday or yesterday or even this morning, I could give you an answer. I didn't even know this was a question. You know, when you want a range or something like that, I could have asked. I can text her and see if I can get that answer. She did respond.
I understand your frustration, and to be honest about it, I didn't think about the question until just now. If I would have thought about it, Jim, I would have called you. You know I would have, and I would have texted you and said, hey, what about this? I didn't. It literally just came to me.
Okay. Do you want me to text her and see if I can get you an answer? I mean, she's answering the text, so I know she's available.
The judge's comment that he just made, his comment that he made changes my view, because 10 minutes ago, I didn't know that was recommended by the Red Wing. Let's just use their name at Red Wing. Tell me what it is. Write it on the board.
RKS.
I'm going to write that down. RKS.
RES.
ES.
ES. Okay.
We're not sure if they go by RES or RES.
Whatever. But she's the subject matter expert in this, and if she has that opinion, then I understand that. And that's where I was trying to get at. You know, I don't want to spend, my other issue was, and I told Magistrate Tice this, we spend $12,000, and then we may have to spend $26,000. Do we spend $26,000 and not pay the $12,000? I mean, I got that answer. But if they're saying that there's a possibility, we have to do the study to satisfy some group or government agency, I understand that. If they feel like that the possibility is low, I understand that. That changes my view. Thank you.
I don't know why that wasn't brought up sooner. I mean, you know.
Answer figured out, and that's the reason we've sent this out to all the magistrates early rather than get it over the weekend. We think we got it to you on Thursday. We've had multiple meetings. We in hopes we're going to answer all the questions, but we're not, apparently have not gotten them all answered. Now, and one...
I want to interrupt you for a second. On the muscles, and you said that the ramp is a second issue. Are you going to have to do the muscle thing to put the second ramp in? Going to be a second muscle survey, or are all the muscles packing their bags and moving to another part of the river?
The whole riverfront, so.
I probably ought to let Stephanie answer her question first because she's got her hand up. What's that?
It's been so long, I can't remember what my question. I know, I got to write it down. Okay, this is what I was going to say. To address the Magistrate Owens' comment about, the muscles, you kind of skimmed over it, but we will have, if this gets approved today, not to exceed 105, there will be a meeting initially, kind of right out of the gate, with Tetra Tech, so that we can review the public input survey, the Prather designs, what the Parks Committee, and as we've surveyed the rest of the fiscal court, what their expectations are, what the judge's expectations are, all those involved, and then you've called it the Schombeck Park Master Planning Committee or team. So we're going to have a meeting as soon as this is approved, if it gets approved, to discuss, do we want to move forward with an elaborate water's edge, just sort of what everybody's expectation and desires are. So that will be addressed kind of ASAP, the whole water's edge issue.
We're going to have to, can I go here?
Sure.
The water's edge is going to be the big issue. And I'll just say it right now. Judge and I are not in agreement on this. So you might as well hear that. You'll know that. You can take whichever side you choose. I know you won't offend me, but at least you need to know about this right up front. When you take and let the bank stay as it is, and I refer to it that as a beach at an ocean, where it just goes down and from grass and then it becomes into sand, but ours kind of a muddy sand, and then you go into the river. When you do that, then we maybe avoid the mussels altogether. We had a report from them at about a year ago that says that they don't see any substantial problem there. Now, if you put in a river walk, and you've got to make sure you understand what a river walk is, because I've had difficulty myself. Exactly what it is. You go to captain's quarters. You build a wall that I'm going to say is 10 foot tall. Over on the river, by the fluctuation, just during the summer as they open the dams, you'll go from a low normal to a high normal, and let's call that 6 foot. You've got to move that wall. You don't want down here at the bottom of the wall with just no water at all. You've got to move that out so that you've got some water depth as you move out into the river. And then if you want that 6 water depth, then you got to build it at that or a little bit taller. So as the water fluctuates on the river, just under normal summer, it doesn't flood your wall. Now we know during the wintertime it's going to overflow. That's just normal circumstance. Can't avoid that. Captain's quarters does it. But they've got that so that water will fluctuate at their place so it doesn't come over the top of that river wall. That process there is going to be more money. It gets us in the water. It gets us into dealing with the mussels. It gets in the whole process of being more money. But there's other things if you move the walk down there, just like captain's quarters, or if you leave your walkway up someplace else. So all of that goes into the study that we're doing. So we've got two kind of things we need to address, and that's the reason we're going to try to have two scenarios coming as we go through it, so that the people or the court can understand what the look will be like and how it will affect us cost-wise. Now, one's more casual than the other, one's more formal, more detailed. However I can say that fairly. If I said it fairly, Judge?
I think so. I mean,
now, what do we do? And since I've become chairman, the only thing I think we can do is try to go in a direction. Now, we've got questions to ask Tetra Tech is we're going to, if the court agrees and votes to let us work with $105,000, then as we go through this, one of the questions with Tetra Tech is as we're going through this, can we get our path, and we've got to go back and take it up with our people, which is, we're on a committee, but you all are the final say-so. In my mind, you are. So we'll have to work with them and come back and keep you all informed. There's a difference when you look at a set of blueprints to something and say, this is what it's going to be. You got a bid price of $1 million, and you say, well, I'm going to do it or not. This has got a lot of moving parts to it that we're going to have to work our way through. And a couple of questions you all have asked, and we've even talked about this morning. We hope we wouldn't have to get too many questions that we had to search for the answer where we didn't already know it, and we've already got a couple. So I'm through talking. Now you all fire back at us. Is everybody okay with what I said?
I'm okay with what you said. I think you had a pretty fair description of that. What you said, you're more casual versus a more formal look down there. We'll have to figure it out in time. But in my sense of the less formal or more casual look is that right now we have a whole bunch of or had until I got the road department down there to pick up logs. We had just a whole mass of stuff that all of a sudden arrived over a couple of days. It's I don't know if there's a way to design an edge treatment there that's going to minimize that. If the water goes high enough, I guess you can't beat it. but it doesn't have to go. What it didn't go high, we're all surprised here a few days ago to see just, all kinds of stuff that had come down the river from somewhere that had landed on our beach, so to speak. Now, the other side of the river or the upper side has concrete there. It has a walkway that somebody tried to put in there a long time ago. I don't know what the answer is. I just like to keep the bar high. In my mind, it's one of the most beautiful places around anywhere. I think Nancy Tice said at one of our meetings it was one of the most beautiful spots anywhere in the whole stretch of the Ohio River that they've tried to organize as tourism events for. Go over and look and see what they've done in New Albany. See what they've done at Jeffersonville. We could go visit other places where people that had a river's edge treatment, they've stepped up and done something that is really great. When you go to Louisville, you don't brag. There's certain things you might say if you're a visitor, come and visit this. You might say, go look at the, I guess it's this, I want to say Big Four Bridge or something that was built over the Ohio River. It's a spectacular something to have. And so I just think we have an opportunity here in our community. I realize that we don't want to dump tons of people into Westport. They would like it to be, but it should be a nice place. I'm glad the boaters are down there having a good time. And I'd like to see a boat docked up along our river's edge treatment. I'd like to see the Belle of Louisville stop there, or one of these other river boats that come. And, if you could pull up to your dock and get off your boat, big or small, or have some steps going down to the waters, the end of the water. I don't know what could be done, but yes, it does cost more money. Agree, and I like to be conservative with our money, but it's a beautiful spot. And how many people have mentioned the E-Town Sports Park to us? Well, some group of people in E-Town stepped up and created a sports park that everybody else talks about that's regional. And 50 years ago, somebody had the sense to build a big gym in Henry County, and I've attended every regional basketball game there my entire time in Oldham County. We all go to the Henry County gym. Somebody did that. They could have said, well, let's just have one that's big enough for Oldham County, Henry County, but they did something more. So that's all I'm trying to say is let's do our best and be proud of what we have. Not short circuit something if we don't have to. Anybody else like to say anything? Okay, so we have a motion on the floor to, I think, go forward with this, and it is a budget. It's not a carte blanche. We're going to spend that for sure. And I apologize for Kristen Fuchs is somebody that we deal with in Oldham a lot because of all of the remediation we've had to do in Oldham Reserve. So she did come to the Parks Committee meeting, I believe, didn't she, Wayne? When she had, Kristen Fuchs came to your meeting and talked to you about
recently.
Or how did we get the idea? Somebody, she commented that the muscle study, the less expensive muscle study is what she would recommend doing.
And that was in this, and I think that Jim talked to Chris Deal, he is our head consultant with Tetra Tech. He is the manager of this project, and then he in turn goes out, reaches out to the other corporations or companies that are handling different aspects to this project for him. So I think it came from Chris, didn't it, or am I wrong, Jim?
Well, Kirsten had told Jim and I in conversation.
Okay, and that was a conversation I didn't have with her, so that's fine.
Maybe we should have some of these consultants come to all our meetings because Steve makes a great point. He's hearing about people he's never met.
Well, and Judge, I want Westport Park to look to some degree better than what it does now. How much, I'm not sure, but one of the questions I had was, why is Red Wing changing their name?
Acquired by another company, simply it.
Because they're a great money producer, so I suppose they were acquired.
There's As far as I'm aware, they've kept all their same staff intact. They were just acquired by RES.
Things that happened during the pandemic, Steve, because Revere, they're now with Joseph and Joseph. So some of that, these corporations that when business just all of a sudden went way down, they have to figure out a way to survive. And I don't know that's the cases, but I know in corporate America there's been a lot of changes like that.
Well, the point I was trying to make is that we pay Red Wing and environmental groups $1 million, and I mean a huge amount of money to make sure that there's not something there that might not be there. We relocate fish. I don't think I've ever heard that before in my life. Pond 5 mitigation. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard of in my life. Get the fish out of there, level the thing with a bulldozer, sow it down at sea, and be done with it. It's money that we had to pay to mitigate that pond. Just, I don't get it. And so I'm scared to death to think about what we're going to have to get into when we get into a live running river. But
that's very interesting. I want to jump back in, if you don't mind, Judge, for a second. But if you would ask Bob Dye sometime what has Oldham had to do to make the Corps of Engineers happy in Oldham Reserve, I mean, it's humongous. And he can just agree with that or not agree. But
we have 8 more years to make them happy. So anybody wants to, I don't want to share the whole story right now, but in mitigation, you better know what you're talking about before you get there, because I was brutally shocked. I'll tell you one point. 3 of us went down to the Corps of Engineers and just took them to task over it. They did back off a little bit. They didn't back off a lot. They backed off about $50,000 over 10 years, but it's still, I mean, I'm not against wildlife, not against any of these things, but some of the stuff they tell you, I mean, how much buffalo clover do you need? I mean, how many cedar trees do you need to keep the bats happy? I mean, no one's ever told us what the wrong number was, but they can tell us what the right number is.
We mitigated the bats at Westport. We picked the time. We got those trees down in the time frame. It had to be done, or we'd be another year away. Chris, can we
they've got 2 years to file suit, so don't worry.
I mean, I think we don't want to blame the messenger. The messenger's just bringing the bad news. He's not really. Kristen Fuchs of the world are not doing this on their own authority. They're making a living trying to guide people through some, administrative jungles that have been created by other people. And that's why our representatives have to fight back to stop this kind of stuff. I mean, it's just, it's the mask. It's every time you turn around, it's somebody trying to put another rule on you. But there are people think that that's what we do, too. Well, we don't think we do. Chris.
When I hear you guys speak of these numbers, I guess I'm not quite sure. When we talk about it as a budget, if they do any part of this, then they get paid the full amount? I mean,
I just made a note, Chris, and it was that we need to get the cost if we decide to pull the plug at any point. That's going to be a question. In other words,
I mean, if I read this and I was trying to, I apologize, I'm playing catch up, but is this an agreement or is this a contract? And is it budget numbers not to exceed? And I know you may not be able to answer those questions, and I apologize.
It is a contract with Tetra Tech, and one of their subconsultants would be RES. And they have submitted a proposal to do 2 different types of mussel survey. One is qualitative, one is quantitative. And they assign numbers in the budget to each of those. If we were to do, as an example, the qualitative one, which is the less expensive, I don't think you go halfway. You do it $12,200. They put divers in, they do their study, and they come up with an answer and a report to U.S. Fish and Wildlife.
And that,
if there is a presence or absence of mussels which are on the federal list.
The option A is just, is there a potential for this to be a habitable environment?
Beyond that, that was the first $900 study that was done a while back that just said, look, is this the proper environment? And the answer was, it could be. Option would be actually, again, divers in the water, collecting specimens, examining those specimens to see if there, first of all, are there mussels, period, and if there are any of them on that list? So at the end of option A, we would know within a 10-meter from the bank area along the entire bank the presence or absence of those listed mussels.
Semi-quantitative, if we have to extend it further, would tell us then what?
Now they go 37 meters, I think was the number, out from the bank, and they actually make a grid, and they put air supply divers in, so they're underwater a little longer. They are now looking more definitively at inside that grid. If they find mussels, they're taking samples, they're looking at size of colonies. So it is a much more definitive study.
So when we get option A, we then you would come back to the fiscal court. We would then be able to pull back if we wanted to and say we're going to stop it at water's edge.
That would help in the design process of the master plan. If there were colonies and the mitigation was expensive, then we would make a decision.
And from the discussions we've had today, one of the things that I would be asking or want to ask is that if we go into the water with a river walk, a la the restaurant, whatever it is, then captain's quarters. If we do that, then what is the cost coming back to the court in the years? Because that's the part that we heard one time about the dredging. We have to every so often. And then, of course, you can imagine how much of the boat is under the water at captain's quarter, because that goes way down, and that's right at the wall. So all of these things, the vision Judge has got is really pretty, but it can get pretty heavy on money, too. This is going to be more than I want to spend. But we have 9 votes on this thing, so that's just me talking. So all of this has to be talked about. And that's one of the things I think that we had those discussions with. If we go forward with Tetra Tech, and I'll be quite honest, Tetra Tech has done everything we've asked them to do. The company, I think that if we go forward or however we go forward, I think it's the group that we want to have leading us or doing this work for us. It's just we need to make sure that we get them what their tasks are, what their job assignment is, so that we don't go astray or at least find out where they are. And their costs are going to have to be covered. It's only fair to any company, and I think they'll be fair to us.
I should die.
Last 3 things I want to mention. The first one, the judge, you said something earlier about, you want to be able to go down there with the fire department and just flush the mud back into the river. Well, I'm not so sure from my experience on Oda what you can do, just push mud around like that. I don't know. Can you? I know you don't know the answer, and I'm sure these gentlemen don't know. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. But I know probably.
Well, we spray off the parking lot now. I don't see what the difference is.
You shouldn't be doing that. Okay. Second thing is, you mentioned the driftwood. I remember some time back we bought something to do with something about the driftwood, and apparently that didn't work too well. I don't know the whole story behind it, but it didn't work. So are those 2 things even doable with the vision that you have as Magistrate Tyson? You have a very, very vivid imagination.
That's what Tetra Tech needs to tell us.
And that now, all of a sudden, a new word has come out, has popped its ugly head up here, dredging. Dredging along the Ohio River, unless you're going to get Nugent to come down and do it for free, which I don't think they will. I mean, there's just so many things that just the words we just picked up today that I think that there's, it really needs to be, and what I think Magistrate House is going to, this is, you said it was it's not really a contract, it's more of a budget. Is this thing going to be a la carte? And we say, okay, we're going to give you a maximum number of this, but at some point in time, if we want to pull back and say, we're not going to do that, are we going to be held responsible for that? Because they can't charge us for work they didn't perform.
So I think when we were talking about what numbers are in the budget, the focus was on the muscles. Being able to choose either after that kickoff meeting, nothing, the no muscle survey, or alternate A or alternate B, or if we do alternate A and it makes us go to alternate B. So those are why we're talking about a budget. The other items are part of the master plan development process. And so once we start that, we should complete the other items to get the master plan. The muscle studies are the ones that are potentially on or off. Now, contractually, I guess if you're going to ask if you can just cut it off at any time, that'd be a question for Tate when we get into this. If you get halfway through it and you decide we're done, I can't answer that, but the intent is that we start this master plan process with the budget, and the only optionals are the muscle studies.
You mentioned the master plan several times. Are we, when I say we, this group, are we going to dictate what the master plan is to the people in Westport? Are they going to be able to come back and say, this is what we want, and this is all we want?
Well, this involves.
We just had a lady came to our meeting this morning, and we're going to have one part of the task is that Tetra Tech will have option A, option B, and then we'll have a forum where we'll probably have it at John Black Center and be an open house where people can come and look at that and get a concept of what they're doing. We talked to the lady. We want to do something nice, but you can't make everybody happy all the time. So the people have to look at the concepts, but the concepts of Plan A or Plan B will be early enough that they could add or subtract, and if it was kind of agreeable that, hey, that makes sense, that Tetra Tech could incorporate that into the final draft or the final whatever we do.
It's important to me to know what people in that park want, people in that community want. And we can want all the things we want up here sitting in this courtroom, but what do they want where they're at? Maybe what they want and what we want is two different visions entirely, or it could be the same. I'm not trying to be argumentative. I just want what's best for everybody all around at the best possible price, and we're not wasting any of the taxpayers' money.
I think both of what you said. Number one, it's in their backyard. So we just got through talking about what's happening with the salvage yard in my backyard. So we need to make sure that they're comfortable with what happens in their backyard. But if Tetra Tech or Fiscal Court really felt strong about an item that needs to be there and they didn't want that there, then I would think that leadership would have to go forward.
They need to be informed and engaged. This is what you're going to guide us if you want to get this done. Don't come back to us later and crap out.
Remember too, starting in January, which it went from January to March 3rd, we had a public input survey. We sent out a bunch of postcards and received those back. Tetra Tech is using that community input survey from that we received to move forward. Using those as part of what gave us the artwork when we agreed to hire an artist maybe 4 meetings ago. Prather came back and gave us those renderings. So Tetra Tech's using the public survey input that we did via the postcards. They're also using the Prather designs, and they're also using the comments that we got back from when we had Prather designs in here, and we had a lot of people from the community come and can you move the basketball court here? Can you do this? They presented a lot of ideas, and instead of Prather moving forward, we gave that all to Tetra Tech so that they can update based on what the community reception of those first 4 renderings were. But I want to say, too, contractually with Tetra Tech, they are the ones initiating the public meeting, the large public meeting to include anybody that wants to come in the county. But then, what we confirmed this morning at the Parks Committee meeting is that they will come back with changes. So they will present 2 plans. We will offer them, and the community will offer them changes and comments, and then they will come back with another improvised and updated 2 comprehensive plans for us to choose from. So that's contractually. However, the Parks Committee can move forward with an additional 1, 2, 3, however many it takes to get the community comfortable, meetings just on our own, and we can have a special Parks Committee meeting on a Saturday or a weekend or a week-long meeting, if that's what it takes to get the community on board. And I'm just kidding, it's not going to be week-long, but I'm just saying however many it takes. The Parks Committee is, man, we're on board to get the community, on board, and we're going to do whatever it takes to, have as many people, especially the locals to Westport, happy about this.
I think it's important the entire community and certainly the people that live in Westport, their point of view is very important. It has to be mitigated by the view of the entire court, representing the entire community. I want to be very respectful of people who live there, listen to what they have to say, and certainly take as much of that into consideration as we can. I don't think anybody in the community can have veto power over any other public facility just because it's near your home. We all move all around this county. Everybody here knows where I live. 1,500 people a week stop at a stop sign in front of my house. I didn't put that stop sign up there, but that's what I have to live with. And many of the people that come there, they come from all over the county and stop right in front of my house. So that's part of what I have to absorb. And other people have to, accept the fact that no one lives in isolation in the county. All of us travel throughout the county and use everybody's roads and everybody's parks and public facilities. So you want to take into consideration, it's important what the most immediate neighbors think, like Wayne. We want to keep the screening over there on the old road so you don't have to look at old ugly cars when you go by. We've got some we have to hide. That's important. Everybody has, importance in making a contribution. So that includes the people of Westport, but not to the point of veto power. They can say we don't like. I honestly don't think we're going to come up with anything that people won't think is nice. No, I certainly don't want to be part of something that's not widely accepted as an improvement and something we can all be proud of.
We can do 2 things at this point. We can either go forward with trying to do the Tetra Tech, and if anybody wants to join our team, you're all are welcome. Because I don't have any problems. I'm just trying to do the best I can, and if I need help, get in there and help me. No problem there. Otherwise, you'll get the best I got. That's all you're going to get. Number 2, or we stop and say, okay, let's see if we can get an extra boat ramp put in there. We can acquire that money, and we'll get that, and we'll put a boat ramp in there. And then maybe, in fact, I think Gary's already ordered it. He's ordered some new swing sets, and we're going to have some new swing sets. So we just quit, and we just add one piece at a time rather than try to develop a master plan for the park and the property that we've acquired over the past 10 years. And I'm okay with that. But that's where we are. If this is going to be more of a struggle if we try to develop a master plan than if we just go out and buy one piece at a time that we think is good for the park. And I'm okay with
We have have we decided that the less expensive muscle study should be one of the first things done? Is that, to address this issue about if there is a problem there, let's find it right away.
It would be concurrent with the kickoff meeting and shortly after, because this is the time of year you want to get divers in the water as opposed to when the river's flowing faster or there's more volume in the water. So it would happen sooner rather than later.
And Jim's answer is an okay answer, but Wayne's answer would be, is if we go into the water, into 30 foot into the water, is there going to be more of a substantial chance that we're going to need to look at mussels? Okay, then Wayne Tice is going to vote for the 27,000, and I'm going to pull the 12 off the table and keep it. And that just reduced our cost from 105 back to about 93. See what I'm getting at? Or
Stuck here because we can't. Either we have to find out if they're in there, or we're just going to forget about the water's edge and go up on the bank and do the best we can there.
see, that's where I would be. And if you'll come over to my side, I'd love it. So anyway,
Compromiser, I won't.
Okay.
I'm willing to go with.
to make fun of this, we're all working hard at this with a lot of decisions.
I'm not stuck. I call for the question.
Got it.
Right. Roll call vote on this stuff and quit beating this horse to death.
Magistrate Likens.
Pardon? This question has to do whether or not
Call for question.
bait.
Magistrate Logston. Magistrate Woosley.
Yes.
Magistrate Hawkins. Magistrate Tice. Judge Vogel. Magistrate Dye. Magistrate Helms. Magistrate Greenwell.
Okay. Motion carries. Now we'll take the vote for approving the Tetra Tech contract up to $105,000.
Magistrate Hawkins.
Yes.
Magistrate Tice.
Yes.
Magistrate Logston. Magistrate Likens. Magistrate Greenwell. Magistrate Woosley. Judge Vogel.
Yes.
Magistrate Dye. Magistrate Hounds.
Motion carries 8-1. Next item on the agenda is the confidentiality agreement with Charter Communications. Is that Kevin? Do you want to discuss that, or got your name higher? But I can, if sure, I'll take it. We have that is under item HIL here. As we had discussed with different companies how we're going to approach our broadband distribution system in the county, getting service out to non-served and underserved people. Right now, I believe we have between 4 and 5 companies that we're talking with that have ideas on how to do this. I say between 4 and 5 because one of them I think our committee has pretty well decided is not an appropriate group to go forward with. But let's say we have 4. One of them is Charter, and Charter would like to talk to us in depth about what their proposal is. But they have asked, part of that in-depth discussion has to do with mapping of exactly where their service is in the county at this point. And they've asked us to sign a confidentiality agreement that we will not share that mapping information with other vendors or people who are trying to assist us. It seems like a reasonable request because everybody, we think we have about 2,600 homes in the county that do not have internet service of any kind at this point. Spectrum does probably have an advantage on knowing where these places are because people have called in, they've asked for service, and they also know where their service exists right now. Is it fair to take that information and give it to the people who are trying to compete for our opportunity here? Probably not. So they consider it proprietary information. I think I understand why. and they've asked us to agree not to share that information with the other people that we're discussing with. So that's what this confidentiality agreement is about, and why we think we need it. Those are a motion to approve this.
So moved.
Moved and seconded. Discussion. Anybody like to add or supplement what I said, Chris? Do you want to?
Being on the committee, or I guess it's a committee, I think though what we'll get the information back from Charter. I guess the only issue I have is that if we end up going with two different vendors, and let's say one of them is Charter, some of the information that they give us, we're gonna have to maybe use to ask questions of the other vendors. I guess I know why they're asking for it. I just hope we don't get ourselves in a bind later on, but I guess we won't know that until we get the information back.
Pardon?
Oh, it's only okay. I'm good then.
Map, right. Keep proprietary. And I don't think AT&T, who is not one of our vendors, would come in and give us their map. Magistrate Hawkins.
It appears as though it was changed from if there was any problems, the governing law would be under the jurisdiction of Oldham County, Kentucky, rather than St. Louis, Missouri, but they haven't signed that. So they may not sign this.
Well, they will. We asked for that because John Carter reviewed it. He's okay with the contract, but he wanted, if any disputes ever arose, to be subject to Kentucky law, not Missouri law. They agreed to that. They changed the document. Commissioner Greenwell.
I'm sure this is just standard boilerplate, but this one sentence kind of intrigues me. It says, Charter makes no implied or express representations or warranties as to the accuracy or completeness of the confidential information.
I know, it seems to defeat the whole purpose.
Just wanted to point that out.
We don't have any way to dispute it, I guess is what you'd say. They are. I guess they're saying if we make a mistake with our document here, it's already, we can't be held liable for it. But I don't think they would purposely try to make a mistake. Easy enough to have. I should die.
This map that y'all are speaking of, I'm assuming this is either a PDF or paper map.
They're going to be it's likely going to be a shape file that we would use to put in a GIS system or PDF map.
So they're considering this document to be proprietary for them only, right? And we're using it for references only?
Yes. In other words, they want to use it in relation to their description of what they could do for us if we were to choose them as our vendor to help get into the underserved.
And in a long respect, it could be considered to be part of their advertising package, whether when they want to give you a bid or something, they're not going to say this is the map we're going to do, or...
I didn't quite understand.
They're saying it's a map of their service area. Is that like just a big circle on a map, say this is our service area? And
No, it's the map of Oldham County and where all of their fiber optic cable runs right now, and they do not want that shared with other people who might like to have that information and do something with it.
Proprietary, and they've designed it.
I mean, it's other competitors probably know where it's at anyway. All right, thank you.
All right, we've got to moved and seconded here. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, motion carries. Thank you. All right, I need to make a note here that Wayne Tice left the meeting at 4:58. Thank you. Next item here is our rural and secondary road. Magistrate Greenwell's road committee looked at this, and
Judge, we have not. The timing of the resolution didn't work out with our road committee meeting, which would be next first meeting in August. So this is standard things that they bring to us every year as to what their plan of work is as far as maintenance and proposed overlays and things like that. And Jim, if I'm not mistaken, on this list is the Dawkins Road, which they've already completed, I believe, if I'm talking about the same one.
That is, I might weigh in on that just before you. I saw that too, and I called Matt's off, talked to Shelley Venable before our meeting. They did that last year, and why they've got it on there again.
Well, it was on the list last year, but they hadn't gotten around to do it. And Jim and I had this conversation yesterday because I drove a bus on it in May and it wasn't done. But he said it just appeared that they had just done it.
I checked it out, and it appears to have been very recently repaved, so.
Obviously needed it, and I'm glad they got it on there.
Yeah, well, they widened a little bit too.
So, anyway, this just says that we comply with or agree with what their list is, what their plan of work is.
Right. Normally, they come out and present this in person. They're restricted by the COVID thing and the governor's interpretation of what they should
So,
do.
Judge, if you want a motion, I'll make a motion that we accept this resolution and have you sign it, I believe.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Now we're down to personnel actions here. Ms. Schaaf? Yeah, I did. Good, thank you.
He did move that. You can tell.
Get something to stand on there and make it person tall.
Can't hear you.
Either a shorter mic or a taller person. I'm not sure.
Speak better in the mic. He can't hear you. Jay can't hear you.
He's hollering from behind the curtain.
Oh, now can you hear me? Yes. Okay. We have some personnel actions this afternoon. We have quite a few, actually. The road department, we have some new hires. We have Daniel Bolton and Tom Phillips as equipment operator 1 at $17 an hour effective tomorrow. And John Ford, who is one of our seasonal drivers, he is equipment operator 2. He's going to change to full-time status, also effective tomorrow.
Judge, I'll make that motion.
Okay. All in favor, please say aye.
We have a park seasonal. We have Charlie Securis. He's the first-year lifeguard at $8.59 an hour, and that's effective tomorrow as well. You want me to go through all these, Judge?
I guess we could do them all. Let's go up, down to police. Let's just do maintenance next too.
And we have a new hire, Jeremiah Muchler, at a maintenance assistant 1, $17 an hour, effective tomorrow. And then we have Brandon Nelson for the recycling center. He's going to be part-time at $20 an hour. He'll start tomorrow as well.
Motion, we accept these people.
So move.
Discussion. All in favor, please say aye. Now police.
We have to renew the school resource officer contracts for Joe Dennis, Greg Ford, Mike Head, Matt Lay, Jimmy Latham, Thomas Moore, Bo Simpson, and Tracy Witt. They're all effective on August 1st for a year. And then we have a new SRO contract for Paul Kerr that will start August 1st as well. The only one that didn't renew a contract this next year would be Matt Cornell. He moved on to something else.
That motion, Judge, that we
Okay, moved and seconded. As you know, we pay the resource officers through the school board $32 an hour. They work 170 days a year. They also have 10 days of training in the summer. So that we appreciate these individuals for helping provide security in the school. We've got a motion and second. All in favor? Please say aye. And carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I think we're down to our next public comment. I don't see any commenters here, so we'll skip that. We did it.
Who pays the SROs again?
School board.
Or you say the school board, I'm sorry.
Did I say it?
I know that they did, but I didn't hear you say that
Yeah,
I thought you said we pay, not the school board pays. Okay, thank you.
Right. Anyway, now we're down to the final announcements here, so we'll see if Magistrate Logston, you have anything you'd like to?
I just want to clarify, when we were talking about the mussels, you know, I had a question just because I thought about it today. I asked Jim about the mussels before, but I didn't think about the one question, are we going to have to double pay that until today? So sometimes when you're sitting on court, you have questions that pop in your head that you didn't think about asking before. So, you know, I read what Denise sends us usually on Friday, review it during the weekend again. So, I mean, there's just sometimes questions just pop in your head that you don't think about. So, Chris had a question about his question and Jim didn't know. I mean, there's just sometimes questions pop up you just don't think about. So, I just wanted to clarify that.
Okay, great, thank you. Commissioner Dye,
I have nothing, sir.
Commissioner Hawkins,
Nothing today, Judge. Thank you.
Downs.
Yes, sir. I've got one thing. There have been quite a few accidents at the intersection of Ash Avenue and Old Floydsburg Road. KYTC has made the decision to make that a four-way stop starting on Thursday now. Not quite sure it's going to alleviate the traffic problem. It may create a bigger traffic problem, but we'll have to wait and see. But just to make everybody aware that that's going to go in effect, weather permitting, on Thursday. There'll be stop signs and stop bars installed, from what I understand from an email that I got, on Ash Avenue, Kentucky Highway 362, and there's already stop signs and stop bars on the old Floydsburg ends. But you may want to adjust your travel in the mornings because Ash Avenue can be pretty busy, and in the afternoons, I guess so too, but especially in the mornings.
Okay, thank you. Measure Greenwell.
Thank you, Judge. Just congratulations to Magistrate Woosley for joining this elite group. Anyway, just thank you for being here. Secondly, kudos to the Project Guild for putting on one heck of a Oldham County Day. It was fantastic, and there was a big crowd there, and we dodged the rain, and it was a great parade.
And if anybody didn't see it, the flag, American flag that the Magistrate Greenwell had on the front of his tractor was a huge hit.
That was cool.
Much appreciated. That was great. And we do welcome Magistrate Woosley at the end of the meeting here. You're invited to make any comments about your district, any events. You know, you might like to add before we close out.
Want to just thank everybody for welcoming. The staff has been just absolutely wonderful, and I just appreciate it. I do promise you guys I will always do my homework, and I will be as
collegial,
friendly as I can be. I do have some professional and personal conflicts between now and the end of the year that's going to cause me to miss about 3 meetings, but we will limit those going forwards.
Okay.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Right. Nice to have you here, and we wish you the best of luck. And
Collegial, huh?
oh, yeah, I knew you. For a word, yeah, collegial. Yeah, it's my favorite word. I will compromise with anybody that's got a good idea.
That's the story. That's what you're selling today.
All right, Magistrate Likens.
Thank you. Did anybody tell the new magistrate that he has to buy drinks after the meeting?
Yes.
We're having a meeting for the Harmony Lake, which is a big thing that's going on, the Division of Water. Speaking of things like mussels and bats, this is the Division of Water coming in for a dam that's over 50 years old, and we have to breach the dam, tear down 3 houses that cost over $1 million. So it's a pretty big thing that's going on in my area. And that meeting will be Wednesday, July the 28th, between 5:30 and 7:30. So here at the courthouse. So
Any work deal with the court, give me a call. I work cheap.
thank you.
I got one thing I did want to add, Judge.
Okay.
This past week, on Thursday, we had a dedication of the extension, I guess you would call it the extension or the completion of Eden Parkway and the West Peak. We didn't get to see the intersection of West Peak where the roundabout is. The signs, apparently the road contractor forgot to order the signs that you need to put around a roundabout. I think I'm getting this right, aren't I, Mr. Silliman? So the road is not open to the public yet, but it will be soon. But the road is finished, and the judge had a moment there that he was able to, and I'll let you tell what you did with the other sign that we're talking about, since it's your deal.
Well, thank you. We were also able to honor former State Senator Ernie Harris by the agreement of the Fiscal Court and the City of LaGrange at the request of the Oldham Board. The LaGrange Parkway was changed to Ernie Harris Parkway, and certainly a deserving honor for a person that basically was the key person in delivering the money for both the parkway and the bridge over the interstate. So, and he was definitely shocked and unaware of what was coming, and appreciated very much. And was humbled by that. So,
You're a politician, and that was the first time he was speechless.
Right. Well, he didn't. He was, as it turned out, David Bazanis said that he was going to. Ernie Harris asked when he got there. He said, "Would you like me to say anything here today?" David said, "Well, no, but we've already got you on the agenda to speak." He didn't know it, but then at the end, when David got up and sort of concluded the meeting, he never did ask Ernie to get up and speak. So, but it's all right. It worked out okay, and we're getting the signs out there. Road department's getting the signs out, and the new road is great. If you haven't driven it, the Eden Parkway's nice, and it's going to be nice when we get that assisted living facility in there. Got a lot of dirt to move out of there. I don't know where they're going to put it all, that big pile of dirt. But
the pile just got shrank a little bit yesterday.
Well, great. I would like to mention before we conclude here that we are expecting possibly this week an announcement from our National Lawyer Consortium about the opioid litigation against McKesson, Cardinal Health, Amerisource, Bergen, and Johnson & Johnson. This is a multi-billion-dollar settlement, and we don't know exactly how much is going to fall on Oldham County. We haven't been told that, but we will be receiving some money from this settlement to help offset the cost of dealing with opioid exploitation in Oldham County. So I'll let you know as soon as we have that number. Our number is not going to be as large as some, but it'll be larger than others, and whatever we get will be helpful in addressing that problem in our county in the future. So with that, I'd like to thank everybody for being here today, and also thank everybody for working at our booth at the Oldham County Day. It was a very well-attended Oldham County. I think a lot of people wanted to get out of their house, get their mask off their face, have a little fun. And even though our COVID problem has spiked up a little bit here in the county, we still have to be cautious, but we still have to live too. So take care. Is there a motion to adjourn? All in favor, please say aye. We're adjourned.